Is that game on CSNBC? MSN, NBCSN?
No, St. Louis, Washington.
Bob, you want to get that TV on there? Should be Mike. Can you throw that on to the hockey game that's on?
Just so that Drapes is working while he's working.
NBC Sports goes on at 8.
Do you know what channel that is on?
Vegas is on after.
NBC Sports.
Not on DirecTV.
What
Hockey Town celebrated 3 championships in 7 years, and rarely has someone so tough played so pivotal a part.
McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty! Show that play. Lariano. Shanahan. He scores! The Red Wings have defeated Colorado. Darren McCarty. Here's a break at center. McCarty. Off wall. McCarty scores! Darren McCarty! Here's Wilkie McCarty in. McCarty scores!
I love you, but you're a mess.
I am a mess. I'm a work in progress, I guess you could say.
Well, this work in progress here, I don't know if you know this, but I'm going to tell you, it's October 2nd, 2019, in the year of the Lord, and I just looked down to my co-host, Perry Bellucci, to see it's show number 42, so that's pretty good consistency, Perry. How are you tonight?
Doing really good, Max.
This one I'm going to dedicate to Jackie Robinson in honor of the fact of running into Willie Horton last week, Willie Horton, what a great human being and representative of the Detroit Tigers and what it means to be from Detroit area. So show 42. We're here. Grind time with Darren McCarty on this Wednesday, October 2nd, 7:20, 3 p.m., a little bit early because we had to get here a little bit early because of our guest tonight. Obviously, I'm joined as usual by my co-host Perry Bellucci, my producer engineer Mike McCool. Thank you to Radio for One Studios, Mike Walters, Jay Boger, and our buddy Edith on the Detroit Cast Sunday through Thursday right here from this studio that Grind Time with Darren McCarty broadcasts you from every Wednesday night. Also check out J. Chris Newberg on Heroin Has a New Publicist, a funny podcast. But tonight, what can I say?
A lot.
No, I can't say a lot, but let me go. First off, 4-time Stanley Cup champion. How many juniors wins, Perry? Do you have any? What were you? I didn't get that.
We played 2 World Juniors.
2 World Juniors.
Yep.
Gold, right, exactly. That's right, exactly. Golden Junior. Frank J. Selke Award for Defensive Player in the NHL 2003-2004. That's the same award that like guys like Sergei Fedorov, Steve Yzerman, Pavel Datsyuk. I mean, it's a pretty well-known trophy in Detroit, but and also too, he played in the Olympics in 2006. But it didn't go so well. But hey,
World Cup.
World
Championship,
Championship.
World Championship.
That's why I didn't count.
Yeah, we'll go.
Yeah.
I think Count, obviously, no more further ado, centerman of the world famous Grind Line, 4-time Stanley Cup champion, and my best friend in the world, who's seen me through ups, downs, in and out, but has always been there. Thank you for being here, buddy. How you doing? Chris Draper, the Director of Amateur Scouting for your Detroit Red Wings. Welcome, bro.
Thanks, Mac. Appreciate it. You're looking forward to it, you know. I've been following a lot on Instagram, catching all your clips of where you've been. Man, you played in a lot of golf tournaments.
You like
It's
that, huh?
every time there's another golf outing. Obviously, you came to the Little Caesars outing, which was amazing. We obviously appreciate that. Fantastic.
I had a great time with that. Let's explore expand on that a little bit because of it's always important because of the this year for Little Caesars and the court with the Navy SEALs Museum and that foundation. What's the lady's
Dorothy.
Dorothy, yeah,
Yes.
Dorothy,
Yeah.
who's awesome,
Unreal.
and
Yeah.
they did a demonstration, right? Also here today, Bill Roos, media guru and grind time friend who's been 31 years reporting on sports here in Detroit. So I put Bill in the Kevin Allen category as just guys that know the real way it is around here. So thanks for joining us, Bill, and having fun. But back to that with the Navy SEALs, they did a demonstration,
Yeah.
and they brought in the helicopters, and they brought in the dogs, and they, you know,
You had
had
the skydiver, 2,500 feet, dove. You had the American flag.
That's unbelievable.
Unreal. 2,500 feet, and he was coming in hot.
Oh,
Like, that was a hot landing.
it
They had
was
the
a-
German Shepherd, the attack dog.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
and then finally, I don't know if
Something happened?
anybody
Something
knew this,
happened there?
anybody knew this or not, but you know what? They were scoping out some suspect people, and just so happened that Mr. Draper ended up with a black bag over his head like a terrorist,
Yeah.
and he was hauled off there.
They got the
Talk
one guy
about
jumped
it
me pretty
because,
good. Yeah.
dude, they threw you down.
I know.
and threw that knee into your side.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
did that feel like Joey punching you?
Couple kidney shots. Yeah, no doubt. I knew they're like, are you okay to be part of the demonstration? I was like, of course, you know, and I, obviously you and I, big, huge Navy SEAL guys. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are, you know, able to kind of hold them off a little bit. But the one guy came up from behind, and I was up, down. I had a forearm me up. They escorted me probably about 50 yards to a helicopter.
That you
threw
can't
me-
see because
I couldn't see. I'm bagged. Yeah,
anything?
no, I could see my feet.
You could,
that was it.
So for anybody out there that's listening, we're talking about this. The Navy SEALs, they did the exact same training as that they would do to go in where they went into Bin Laden. You know, you hit Navy SEAL Team 6 and those black masks, so you can't see anything if
Yeah.
you've seen it on TV.
Yeah.
Drapes was being the demonstration, for lack of a better word, dummy.
Yeah.
For them, and just to have that perspective of how dark. And then also when I asked you about, they drag you 50 yards and they let you buckle in, but they said usually.
Oh, usually they're not even close.
So
No.
they drag you to the copter, and then
Yeah.
boom, they
The
whisked
one-
you
yeah.
off.
So the Navy SEAL went in first, and then I went in, and usually the other guy would come in, and then that would be it. They'd sandwich, obviously, you know, who's ever, you know, black bagged and put him, you know, right in the middle. But they were like, all right, okay, you got to buckle up and stuff. And then the copter, I'd never been in a helicopter before. That was the first time.
Really?
Thing went zipped right up and then cruised over Lake Orion. It was really cool. So it was great to be a part of it, and it was you know pretty. It was awesome that the Navy SEALs were there for Little Caesars amateur hockey, you know, supporting the AAA program, and you know I thought you know everyone got a real kick out of that.
That's awesome. Let's talk. Let's stay with the director of amateur scouting. So for the past 5 years or what? You were the assistant, special assistant to the general manager.
Yeah, with Ken. Yeah.
Right. What changes in your role now, or can you explain what the difference is from what you've been doing the past 5 years as special assistant to taking over the role as director of amateur scouting?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, with Ken, you know, great opportunity to work with him. What a phenomenal person. Became friends of ours. Obviously, he was the general manager for all our teams, and then we were lucky to be able to have a friendship with Ken Holland. And I was able to go in and basically, as kind of the assistant to the general manager, I kind of watched everything. I watched the NHL, I watched our American League team, then I watched a lot of amateur games as well. Tyler Wright was the director of amateur scouting. I was able to work with him on on some drafts, but more or less, he had two chief amateur scouts that he really relied on day in and day out, and I would just kind of go to the games and write reports and kind of give my feeling on some players. And then obviously with the change when Stevie came in, we just kind of started talking and asking, what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go in with the organization. And, probably over the last 2 or 3 years, I took a strong liking to the amateur side of the game. And I realized with where the Detroit Red Wings are, where we are right now, how important it is, obviously with drafting. And then the next step would be player development, and that's Dan Cleary and Sean Horkoff. Those guys are in charge. So now for me, I'm basically, I'm sitting at the table right beside Stevie, and we're going to be, I'm going to have a big say in obviously who we're drafting. And I have 2 chief amateur scouts, Ryan Rozmierski, who used to work with Nashville Predators. He lives up in Ann Arbor. And then a former teammate of ours, Jesse Wallen, came over from St. Louis. So you're going to see Wally around. He's so those 2 guys, I have those 2 are my chief amateur scouts. Obviously, Håkan Andersson, director of European scouting over there. I'm going over to Sweden on Friday. I'll be over there for 10 days and kind of going through, and I'll see all the top European players. I just spent the weekend in Rimouski, Quebec, watching Alexis Lafreniere, who right now is ranked number 1 in Central Scouting.
Plays in the queue, right?
Plays in the queue. He's a left shot.
Although I'll give you this, though. You said Joe Veleno is the real deal and was going to be a player, and I see what you're talking about. As far as like this, what I've seen, and we're talking about number 90 in camp, and I know he's down. He's going down, needs some seasoning, but he's got. What I like is he's smart.
Yeah,
you could tell that he is, and you could tell that. So here's a kid, that if anybody out there, we're talking about the Quebec Major Junior League, and if you're talking to a couple of old horses from the old OHL days, Quebec sort of gets the nose up as being the softer league, which doesn't mean that it is, but what it's proven because Joe Veleno came into the league as a younger guy. With a special exemption,
exactly.
that I think that the experience or whatever the process. So it's guys like that who you watch and draft, and then get them in the system to see where they look out to. So you mentioned that the last couple of years, that's where you really found your niche. But also too, you also mentioned, because I think the bigger thing that keyed to me is there's a role to be filled. This organization, and explain that more to the people out there. As I look, like this is a new regime, and obviously Stevie being Stevie, we all know that. Now that's the whole thing. But putting things into place, filling that role, like you mentioned, can you speak about that? Because I call it the culture, and it's. If you look at it, guys are filling in. You mentioned Jesse Wallen. Wallen, you might look up his stats. He was a big part of us in the 90s and being around the room and hockey-wise and stuff like that. So
I mean, honestly, it was an interesting process. I've never obviously been a part of it. Sitting there and once we had discussions, with Steve, and then after the draft, after he named me director of amateur scouting. Now, I mean, it was basically all of July trying to fill our staff. It was a lot of emails, there was a lot of resumes. It was talking to a lot of people. It was you start realizing how important this is. These are guys that you obviously can't be everywhere, and these are guys that you're really going to rely on. And the expectation is we're going to see 275 to 290 hockey games, and we're going to sit there. We're going to put this list together, and it's with where we're at, and anytime you talk to Steve or Pat Verbeek, whoever it might be, about where we are as an organization, you hear the term rebuild, and the way that you rebuild is through the draft. And with that said, it makes my job that much more important, and I'm excited about it. I understand how important this is. I'm obviously just like yourself. I'm a very, very proud Detroit Red Wing, and it's you don't like seeing where we're at right now. This is opening night of the season, of the 1920 season. You remember how it was for us when we come into training camp. We go through training camp, and when day one opened, we actually felt that we're going to win the Stanley Cup. Every year we had that feeling. Now, did it happen every year? No, but we still had that feeling, and obviously made the playoffs every year that we played. We competed. We were there. We had close calls. We had unbelievable experiences. And that's what from Stevie all the way down. That's what we want to bring back to the Detroit Red Wings. I mean, Steve Yzerman, is the Detroit Red Wings, like, and that's, so he's coming over for the same thing. Pat Verbeek, he's unreal to work with.
Explain why. Now, Pat Verbeek, obviously, we used to call him a little ball. His nickname was a little ball of hate,
Yeah.
and some of us just call him midget because he's so small. But there's no fierce. The things is you realize, and the one thing I say about you is like you have no gear. Right, you have on or off. I mean, you either go no matter what you're doing, and I think all the guys is like you do it obviously to the best of your ability. But the fact that when you say that, what makes, because I know Pat Verbeek as a teammate, and he was an awesome teammate.
Yeah.
Same sort of.
You know
thing.
what? It's the passion that he has for the game, the work ethic that he has, and the ability to make people around him better and work harder.
So like Steve, he's
exactly,
an extension
and
of
that's
Stevie.
why obviously Stevie, when he went to Tampa, he brought Pat Verbeek, and when he came back to Detroit, he wanted to bring Pat Verbeek. So Pat Verbeek, he's assistant general manager and basically runs, our pro department. So when so basically, obviously Stevie runs the
Right, Stevie
organization,
oversees
and then Ryan Martin runs Grand Rapids. And then from there, you have Pat Verbeek that overruns the entire pro staff. Obviously
Maltz.
Kirk Maltby's a pro scout. Mark Howe, and so he has those guys going. And then, for me, I obviously run, the amateur staff. So it's, we have five scouts in Europe, and then we have 11 over here. So a big staff, and on a daily basis, I'm trying to pick up the phone and talk to guys and see where they've been, who they've seen, who they like. We have a pretty cool system to really track the prospects and top prospects. Who's going up, who's kind of flatlining, who's going down, and obviously anyone who's going in the up direction, with the arrow up, those are the guys that I definitely have to see. So I have, like I said, I have a trip over to Europe, and I'm gonna see basically all the top ranked European skaters in 10 days. And you get there, and come back, a couple days off, and then it's you just keep tracking players, and it's we'll have conference calls, kind of get guys. I want everyone to. I'm going to need everyone to be a part of this. We're going to have scouts that are going to see, in their area, they're going to see guys, probably play 200 something hockey games. We're sitting there at draft table, like these guys, they're going to know the player better than I am.
Right, exactly.
So I'm going to know a lot of the top end players. I'm going to track those guys. I'm going to chase those guys. But when you start talking about diamonds in the roughs or some gems or something like that, that's where, you want your area scouts to, to step up and, really like these guys. And it's unbelievable how it works on draft day. It's actually really cool to be a part of something like that.
You want to break it down because you've been there. Obviously, you've seen your little cheesy smile and stuff. But
and the glasses on now. I don't know if you noticed that, but I got
I screwed myself back in 2013 when I walked into Comerica and saw Koff with his pop bottle signing autographs, and I went, "Holy shit, old man, see much?" And he just didn't even look up. He just eyeballed me and said, "Yeah, that'll be you soon." And
Yeah,
sure as shit.
I know.
Well, you're not as young as you used to be.
No,
though,
yeah,
Bruce.
48, young 48, bud.
That's it.
Yeah.
Being
But we've
Aussie
talked-
Maltz at 47. Just remember who the old guy is.
But we've discussed this
I
with
know,
the dog
on
years
the
thing.
inside,
Okay?
the
All
dog
right.
years,
Yeah,
I'm lucky I'm still alive.
A dog's never 10. Remember that. And
I'm like Benjamin Button, though, bro. I'm coming backwards.
I like it. Well, we want you to.
Well, he
Yeah.
has no problem.
But
going
what's it like
backwards.
sitting there on draft day because is it, so from my perspective from not being there, right? So you have and picking, let's go, what did we pick? Fifth, sixth?
Sixth, yeah.
Sixth, right?
Yeah.
So you have an idea of the guy you want. Obviously you don't know because the year before Zadina fell
Yeah.
to be able to take it. So
Yeah.
you're skeptical like this, but phone calls do come.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
right before, it's no joke, like it's not no setup or anything like that. You're sitting there and your heart's going like you remember sitting there getting drafted.
Oh yeah, like it's you put so much you put so much time into it, getting your list right. And when I say getting your list right, probably putting your 1 through 40. And as you go, this year it's Hughes is off the board, Kakko's off the board. You just keep scratching names off the board, and you're sitting there and you just the guy you like a certain type of player. And then all of a sudden, as you kind of get to know the kid through the combine, through interviews, you really want this player to be a Detroit Red Wing.
Maybe a little insight to maybe what went into drafting Mo Seider?
Yeah,
because and we're talking about this because this is the brilliance. When somebody asks me,
oh, we haven't heard of this kid, or he wasn't highly touted, and I just went, he's going to be great.
Yeah.
Because you know what? If he's in whatever, but Stevie's seen, and then you hear that how he performed at World Junior. But these are things that I think where you can break it down, and the why, when it came to it, why we went that direction.
Yeah, well, the first time I saw him play was in November. I was over in Czech for Five Nations tournament, and there was a Four Nations tournament, kind of B countries. Germany was there, Switzerland was there, Norway was there. You know, so it was a U20 B group. And actually, Håkan Andersson and Vladimir Havlui, our Czech scout, were kind of like, if you get a chance, you might want to go in and watch this German defenseman, Moritz Seider.
And if anybody who doesn't know the Hawk Anderson, who
there's some pretty good names attached to
you want to throw
you
out,
take the
like
names.
Lidstrom, Zetterberg,
Datsuk.
Holmstrom out of Datsuk, all in the later rounds back in the day where that used to
We
be.
found Homer in the North Pole.
Well,
you know,
yeah,
like
dude,
that's impressive.
Dude, he was making out with reindeer. What are you talking about? They said when I told him if you put a lipstick on a pig, it still makes it a pig. He's like, same with reindeer. Yeah, same thing.
So Håkan is, and you know what? Over the last couple of years, I've been fortunate to really sit with him, talk with him, pick his brain. You just sit there and you listen to him, and you can tell when he likes a player, he's very passionate towards that player.
And that's awesome because it's, as a director of amateur scouting, what I'm hearing is there's no waste of time.
Yeah.
You don't your time is not wasted by seeing you pretty much you're going to Sweden. You got to hit the globe. You mentioned earlier that without Waze you'd be screwed.
Try wheeling it. So I landed. Well, I can go backwards. I landed in Quebec City on Friday morning, and I actually had to get to Rimouski. It's a 3-hour drive, and you're sitting there. It's basically right up the St. Lawrence River. It's once you get out of Quebec City, it's a 2-lane highway. And you got these turns going on, and there's no chance I'm finding that. It would be every single gas station I'd be pulling in. Am I going the right way to Rimouski? Trying to pull this map out. No chance. 20 years ago, I'm scouting. So, but going back to Mo, so I went in there, and all of a sudden I saw a 6'4" right-handed defenseman, very intelligent hockey player, and right away you could just tell that he was playing in the DEL for Mannheim in the Elite German League with men, and this tournament he's going back and playing against players his own age. He was still on the younger end of the U20, but you just watched a lot of stuff that he did, and it just that's the type of game, that's the type of viewing that brings you back to watch this player. And right from there, I came back, obviously had a real good conversation. Hawk, what'd you see? What'd you like? And the hard part was there were some nights when he was playing in Mannheim, he might play 4 to 6 minutes,
right.
Whatever it is. It was kind of tough. They ended up winning the championship, so he's on the best team in the league. So sometimes that was a tough part. We'd have scouts that would go in. Vladdy watched them play probably the most. Vladdy and Håkan watched them play the most. And, there were nights where you go in, you might play 6 minutes, Then the interesting thing was Pat Verbeek went over to the World Championships, men's World Championships, and he came back. We had some conversations about Moritz Seider. Yuri Fisher was over there as well for the entire World Championship. So, we basically watched this guy, over, the entire year. And then, why did we make that selection? Well, how many teams win the Stanley Cup without a top pair defenseman? You look at Pietrangelo right now with St. Louis, obviously what he did, and he's 6'4" right shot, D-man scored, a couple of huge goals in the Stanley Cup finals, great thinker, plays in all situations. So
Captain.
we felt we felt,
everything.
And then the interesting thing, the NHL Combine, he was the only player, so we interviewed, I think it was like 95 players through the week. He was the only player that we interviewed that was interviewing with all 31 teams. He met with every single team. A lot of guys were, 26, 27. We always ask, how many interviews do you have? Moritz had 31 interviews. And so, which obviously said, from basically from top to bottom.
Radar.
Yeah.
But that's the difference between when we were you were 90, were you
89.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, you got us a little.
Now I was
blades and a choker chain.
I went as an underage though.
I know
okay?
you did.
So
you
let's
were
just
underage
make sure.
everything. That's
okay.
freaking odd. We'll get when we
Yeah, we
started
know
butting
that.
heads early on after we get through this. But that red flags it. And that's the difference between nowadays. Like you said, not only ways, but
you can't really hide a guy,
No.
even though
Oh,
that's
no.
Division II or whatever.
Yep.
So you got to be specific.
Yeah.
So you knew that. So does that? You're telling
Well,
me
I
that
was
raises
over.
a red
So
flag?
we were over at the U18 World Championships, which was over in Sweden, and on an off day, I thought I was going to do a little covert mission and jump in. I went to Germany to go to Mannheim to watch him play. And so I'm thinking, like, okay, this is a great move by the Detroit Red Wings. And sure enough, there was 7 other teams that were there. Like I didn't even wear anything Red Wing. I just wore, I just went over, just wanted to watch the game. And actually, one of the D-men got hurt, so he played a regular shift for basically the second half of the game. He ended up getting 2 assists that game. They put themselves up 3-1 to go ahead to end up, and then the next game they ended up winning the series. The next game that he played, they had a healthy roster, and he ended up playing. He played less than 5 minutes. I caught him. It was almost 16 minutes of ice time.
Wow.
And this is playing in, for a 17-year-old kid playing in, the DEL against men.
Right.
A lot of former NHL players that, that were playing in that game. And it
Well,
was
that's
you know, it was
obviously a good way, like you're telling me right there, is for scouting some of these younger guys. Because if there's guys that we like, can you name a guy off the top of the head that we played against, former NHLer that were playing that league?
I knew there was a couple guys that played in. Stajan was there. Matt Stajan.
Matt,
you played with him in Calgary. Was he in
No,
Calgary
he
with you?
wasn't. He
Okay.
was there after me. But so Matt
Yeah.
Stajan, obviously Belleville Bull.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Toronto Maple Leaf, played in Calgary. Had a good career. Goal scorers. So, and a lot of
And
times
then the
too,
other John Mitchell.
Oh, yeah,
Remember
yeah.
that Toronto
Oh,
Maple
another
Leaf?
Toronto.
Yeah. He was
Whaler.
over there as well. Yeah.
So a lot of guys. So does that help you too when you go and see a guy? Because if you can like relate it to, because you know who Stasian is, and you see him come up against him, and he's not outmatched because of that. That goes.
I
into
think
it?
for what you want to see is you want to see a 17, 18-year-old kid, how quick can he process the game? Under pressure, how can he make plays? Playing over there, it's the sense, obviously the size, you can see it, the way he moves, but there's a couple situations where you're just watching the game. He just made some really nice pop-out plays under pressure, and it's just like, it's a lot of 17-year-old kids just don't have that poise and composure to be able to do that. And then we saw it again at the prospect tournament. It was interesting. A lot of people, just as you're kind of walking through Traverse City, and they're like, geez, did your pick ever play well today? Did Moritz ever play well today? Like, we heard that a lot, and it's nice to hear it, And I think I can tell you right now, like on a, you're sitting there and you talk about the phone ringing, like legit, like the phone's ringing, and you're thinking, do you trade back? Can you get them? Can you maybe acquire another asset and then try to draft them?
So that's all going through your head on the spot, and Stevie's too, and whatever like that.
Yeah.
So when we see you there mad mugging the thing or on the phone or whatever like that, like it's
legit.
It's go time.
Yeah. No, it's then it's and now with analytics, we have every pick, we have a value of every pick, and if we're going to make the trade, we have the trade value of every pick and what we should get. It's really that we have a spreadsheet. We're just sitting there, and it's like when all of a sudden, the phone rings and someone picks up the phone, we can do this, this, and this. Our analytics, Brian Campbell, he's sitting there, he just hands a sheet. Here's this. This is what it is, right? It's unreal.
So
it's
how
unreal.
much does that? So now, because and I've always looked at it like you have done sort of what Stevie has done, except when it was time for you to make your decision, you decided to go to amateur, had the position of the director of amateur scouting, right? But you've done your due diligence throughout the years. Now, how much does it change because of analytics and is there sabermetrics in hockey, or is that just baseball? But to your feel, like does it change your feel as you? Because I know you enough as a person and as a player that I know it all has to go in, but you have to balance something with this, don't you?
Absolutely. And, really what it comes down to is you're sitting there and we have our name on the board or names on the board, and you're sitting there and we're basically saying, like, is everyone, are we on board with this? And it's Håkan Andersson, who saw him play a ton. Vladdy was very passionate towards Moritz Seider. Tyler Wright, who is our director of amateur scouting, very passionate towards, obviously, Stevie. So you're sitting there and you're getting a a right shot defenseman, 6'4" right shot defenseman that all of a sudden Pat Verbeek's on play in the men's World Championship. These are NHL players.
Yeah.
You know, like there's Dylan Larkins over
Yeah.
there. There's legit players that are over there for every country, you know, and it's I played in that tournament. It's an unreal tournament to play over there. You know, and Patrick Kane was there for the United States. So was Moritz Seider, you know, and he did more than hold his own.
Good.
So as we kind of keep watching him, I think as, you know, there's a lot of boxes that were checked as you kind of go through the process of who we're going to take. And in the end, like I said, I know for a fact on a trade back scenario, he would have been gone.
Yeah, no,
You know?
absolutely, and that's I think I wanted people to get a little bit of insight of everything that goes on. That it's like when you're sitting there, that you got to know that 31 teams. That this is like we're gonna, you know, are we gonna shit or get off the pot for more or less when you got to make a decision. Just keep it on this. Who is there? Somebody in the system? Is there somebody that was recently drafted or somebody that's in Grand Rapids coming up that people might not know about or maybe have seen a little bit that, you know, obviously we talk about Philip Zadina because of his scoring.
Yep.
You know, obviously Chalowski has, you know, shown the signs of brilliance and stuff. I mentioned Veleno.
Yeah. What we've talked about the guys that are in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
You know, probably to you know, a couple guys that aren't in Grand Rapids that I think we're excited about. Jonathan Berggren, who we drafted 2 years ago, he was hurt all of last year, missed a lot of hockey. Swede, yeah. This kid watched him play 2 years ago in the U18, led the entire tournament in scoring. Real high-skilled winger.
Who do you compare him to? Kane?
I don't want to. Patrick Kane, we're talking one of the, you know.
No, Patrick Kane-ish. Poor boy.
He would
Patrick
be,
Kane.
when you start talking about skill, sense, size, and edge work and quickness, then yes. You know,
Okay.
like that's the type of player that he could be. Player that we drafted last year, this past draft, Albin Grue. We took him in the second round. This kid is probably one of the most competitive Swedish hockey players I've seen. Like,
Wait.
This
Come
guy's
on.
got some old school.
You played with.
Yeah.
Is he like
this kid?
built like Homer?
He is much skating. No comparison to Thomas Holmstrom. Obviously, Homer at the net, as we know.
No, but I mean,
is
you know,
one-
Homer's.
Oh yeah,
Homer's.
I'm gonna
competitive.
tell you a story about this kid. So in February, okay, we're at the Five Nations in Sochi, Russia. Okay, and this kid, this little Russian kid, very comparable to Darius Kasparaitis. Okay, small kid, open ice, you know, borderline dirty, which you don't see a lot of anymore. The opening shift of that tournament, he lit Grue up. Okay, knocked him out of the tournament. Go fast forward to April in the U18s. Sweden's playing Russia. The first shift, little soft dump into the corner. Grue absolutely runs like this kid didn't forget, you know. And you know, we're just kind of sitting there. We're kind of a little smile on our face, like, you know, this kid, he plays with an edge. He can play up and down your lineup. He had some shifts where he can play on the top line, play power play, penalty kill. Just a real competitive kid, you know. So I'm excited to see.
Where's he playing?
Where's he at now? Yeah.
He's over in Sweden. They move around. I'm not sure. Actually, Dan Cleary's going over Monday, and the players that we just talked about, he's going to see them all over in Europe. Bill might be able to pull it up here online here. You know, so he's yeah, you know, real competitive kid. And you know, he was at development camp, but they don't come over for the tournaments because their leagues have already started. Okay. You know, so they don't come over for the prospect tournament. So, you know, those are the guys. And then we got another big defenseman we took early in the second round, Antti Tuomisto, big Finnish kid. You know, he's a very intriguing prospect. He has a bomb of a shot, 6'4". You know, he has to work on his skating, but he has to get stronger. We think that's going to happen.
How old?
He's 18.
Oh, perfect.
And he's actually, which is interesting, he's playing in the J20 league this year in Finland, and he's keeping his college eligibility, and he's going to come over and play NCAA next year.
Where?
He hasn't committed yet, so he probably has. Probably has
now,
about 4.
do you guys have any? Like in this situation, would there be a converse like to play Michigan or Michigan State or somewhere where he'd be able to play, develop, and be close? Is that like
we don't want to? we if they ask us, obviously the coaches have asked us in those programs that you talked to. Yes, I have talked to them, about Ante. Also probably about 4 other ones. I think he's down to 4 schools that he's probably going to be, ready to commit to.
From your perspective, you want him to go where he's well coached,
Yep.
right? Coach, and he has a chance to play,
All
but also to
situations.
practice,
Yep.
right? Exactly like
Yep.
that. So,
Yep.
so
The good thing
that's
with-
communication between you when the kid asks or the kid's parents ask, and that's what I'm trying to say. Is the culture is you don't just get drafted. Once you're drafted into this organization, you commit. Everybody is back in. To help you be the best you can.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, Dan Cleary's going over there for the week on Monday, and he'll definitely see Ante. And like I said, as of the end of training camp, he hadn't made, the prospect tournament, he hadn't made a decision on what school he was going to go to. I've talked to, you get coaches, that are calling and asking, and but so Clears will go over there, and like I said, our development program to me is and obviously biased because obviously it's two of our buddies with Sean Horkoff and Dan Cleary. These guys do an unreal job with video, with tracking, with communication, being in with their coaches. We have a strength coach over in Europe. We have a power skating coach that goes over to Europe. I mean, I would say our development is as good as any in the National Hockey League, and it's so important with where we're at. We're sitting here. Ken Holland did an unbelievable job getting us a lot of draft picks, and with that comes, a ton of development. And, both those guys, Clears will go over, and then probably 2 weeks later, Hork will go over, and those guys will be, watching these guys. But with video now, you just sit there and they play a game, by within, probably 24 hours, Clears and Hork would have all their shifts clipped. With notes with it. This is what I like. This is what you could have done. This is option. They get it, boom, send it, away it goes. Like I've seen them do it, and it's unreal for you. Like you imagine, like you're sitting there, it goes right. Obviously every kid's got an iPad, phone, whatever it might be. It comes right there. They wake up probably with the time change the next day, 2 days, 2 days later, and they sit there and they get all their information of what's going on. And if they have any questions, pick the phone up, conversation. And that's that's stuff that it's.
But that's right, and that's the whole thing about staying on top. But to hear that's when you say, well, there's one thing to say, Stevie's back culture's changed. You're not that it's changed; it's been that way. But the development is why we're closer than I think we are. The competitiveness, and I love the fact that everybody's fight. There's. Especially the bottom 6, the bottom 4 D-men, it can interchange every night because guys are fighting for jobs and there's ice time available for production.
Yeah, and I think Grand Rapids is going to be, for all your fans, if they get a chance to go down to watch. First of all, Grand Rapids is an unbelievable city.
Love it.
What a great organization.
How many times do you get down there?
Well, I won't now.
No, but before, how often?
Yeah,
did you
I would
before?
probably try to get down there 10 to 12 times to watch those guys. 2 or 3 times a month on schedule wise. To go down there and watch those guys. We'll have someone almost at every game, whether it's Ryan Martin, obviously just saying how it was last year, Ken Holland would be down there, Mark Howe would be in there, Kirk Maltby would be in there, Fish, Clears and Hork, player development, all that. Somebody's always watching these players.
That's awesome.
So it's going to be the same way, but, it's, we want all these young guys, we want them to learn it the right way, and when they're ready to come up, they're ready to be a Detroit Red Wing, not for, 10 games or 12 games, but 10 years or maybe 12 years. That's what we're looking at. That's how we're going to get out of this. So down there, just the other day, obviously we sent, a bunch of our guys down there and Clears and Hork were on the ice. Actually, Kroner was down there too, working with, he and Mo have created a great relationship. So how fortunate are we that Nicholas Cronwall retires, and all of a sudden we bring in Moritz Seider, and they've created a real good relationship. And Nick has taken a pretty good. I was trying to get him on the amateur side, and I think Clears and Hork might have won out on the player development side.
Yeah, they might have had more to offer.
Yeah,
they're a little dirty. Like you can't. You're working with the kids, and then
Yeah, no, that's.
But I think it's great too. But also too, because the ice time. Who's earned that and showed that he's earned that? Hronek.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know, ready.
No,
to make,
he did, absolutely.
ready to make
Yeah.
that step from.
Yeah.
We're talking about number 17, Philip Veronic, who
Yeah.
I love.
Yes.
I love to death just because when I went down to Grand Rapids or wherever, all he does the whole time is fighting McElrath, like in the dressing room, trying to and then he wants to learn how to. And I'm like, dude, if somebody's in trouble, if you're ever in a fight, we're going to teach you how to protect yourself. But like you said, like guys that are invested.
Yeah.
What a great kid.
Yeah,
But,
he is a great
and
kid.
then the minutes go. The minutes get spread around. Not that he's going to be able to fill what Croner, but 2-3 guys. It's like when Dino left, what
Yeah.
Marty and I had to do and stuff. But like speak about that. I didn't know that, but you know what, guys. I think that I'm going to say it right here. I wouldn't be surprised Mo Sider wins a Norris down the road if sometime, maybe 8-10 years. I don't know if he's getting tutored by Croner.
No, I know. It's, obviously we're, very, I mean, Nicholas Cromwell, I mean, what a unbelievable, teammate and friend. And, now to have him, right away, that was something that Stevie wanted to do right away. If he wasn't going to play, you're coming into the front office and what do you want to do? And I think, Croner, I think watching, Sider and kind of watching him play, now all of a sudden it's hands-on. The knowledge it's unbelievable. And the best thing is Mo wants to learn.
Yeah.
You could sit there and you can talk to these guys, but if they're not willing to do it and if they're not willing to listen, that's the hard part, and there's zero resistance. Joe Valeno, he wants to be great too. These guys, it's, Ras and Zadina and Svech, like these guys, they want to go down there, and they got a great core. We were talking about it. Imagine, in 2 or 3 years from now, the friendships, the core,
Absolutely.
everything that they had.
I said that the best part when I walked into that dressing room last year about March is that it smelled different, it felt different. Like it was almost like not the pressure was off, but they had found each other. Like it was, and it was like remember how our room was?
Yeah.
It didn't matter. You walked in our room and it was love. It didn't matter if who was mad at who or whatever. It was brotherhood. It was family. I mean, we proved that through thick and thin, but it was really that care, and that's what I got. And they're having fun,
Yeah.
and to be able to build that because that's the core of our team. No matter who it was, but our guy, us.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you. Is that what Stevie and you are trying to recreate that culture and the attitude that you guys had during the 90s and the early 2000s? Or is this something new?
You can't,
No,
Perry, here's the
can't-
thing.
yeah.
You can't create, you can, what I see them doing is allowing for and finding the people not only with the talent, but the personalities that want to be better. Chris Draper says in the Russian 5, Igor Larionov told us that we were all better than we thought we were. That is what I'm hearing right here is what he's telling some of these young guys or what we're impressing upon. And if you're willing to learn and you're willing to go through the process, right, and the trust, because that's where it is. The trust is there with the guys in charge and the guys that want to be around. I love, I'm going to spend some time down there just to be around, but I love doing the stuff that I do as part of the Red Wings. Like Chris said, is we're so proud, and out of his mouth is we're all finding how to be a positive influence in what we love to do. Stevie wants Croner. What do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
You spent 5 years and, developing the Little Caesars program, handing it off to Brian Rolston, and having that where it is, it's almost like Kenny, like leaving, it's almost passed along the way and it's just done the culture the right way.
Yeah. I mean, culture is, we were obviously very fortunate to, to be in the dressing room that we were in. I mean, when you start talking about, never mind.
You don't realize
whole,
it until we're almost done. Like till now, when we talk about it and we get back,
you almost
like,
get chills talking about it. And as it was interesting. Lee Stepniak just retired, and the one thing that he's talking about missing the dressing room. And that's
Right.
something we spend more time in the dressing room than we do with our families. That's just the way the game is. You're there all the time. And the amazing thing is we used to do that at the Joe now at LCA, like we would never leave.
He said that's what he
You
said.
know,
Are you
like,
kidding
are
me?
you kidding me?
If it was
There's no
when you guys
chance.
lived, when you and I lived, we would just, it would have been Kenny just put like bunks in the
Yeah.
back and
Yeah.
with the kitchen and with
Abs-
everything.
The chef, Bill, obviously Les, who we love.
Yeah.
Um,
She got me the other day
yeah,
too, dude.
she-
She scared me the other. She got me first time in like 15 years. The quick thing, Leslie Winfield, Winnie, love her. She's been our kitchen person and whatever, and it used to always hide and scare. Well, she got me the other day good. First time ever. Anyway,
Yeah,
sorry.
and so the food that they have, the gym. Mac didn't really go in the gym too much.
I followed you and Stevie
Okay,
in there.
so there was this line in the sand that Mac refused to cross, and that would be like
Listen,
through
some guys
through
like
the
you get
curtains
sick.
and then get into the gym.
Some
Mac
guys
was-
like Chris get sick when they don't work out. Guys like me get sick when they do.
Exactly. Yeah, we both had a sickness. Yeah. It's funny. Everyone's like, talking about, addiction, and everyone gets mad. Well, you're addicted to working out. Like, and they say it like in a bad way.
Right. How's that bad? Yeah.
So, but it was the amazing thing is, and it's coming. Like when we would walk into the Joe, you'd see, Stevie would be on the bike. You'd see Nick on the bike, and all of a sudden you're sitting there. You're like, and these guys played, these are playing 20 plus minutes a night, and you're sitting there. It's like, well, I'm going on the bike, like you're getting in there, and that's just how this team, and then next thing you know, you come in the morning, it'd be 10, 12 of us. That would be, even before practice. Some guys would want to do it after practice, but everyone was doing it. Everyone was doing something. Everyone was doing something.
It would turn into, because everybody's got their, get like routine right here. Let me do this first. So obviously, I don't know if you knew this or not, but obviously with all the legalization in Canada, the cannabis, obviously here, but everybody wonders about CBD and stuff like that. So. I don't know if you knew this or not, but come June of next year, Glenn Healy and NHLPA is coming out with a $40 million study, and to stand out in front with the league to say, hey, there's something that has to be done for guys with welfare.
Yep.
Well, until that point, I always try to help people along the way, and Herbal Active is the THC-free CBD. Rich Summers and the folks at Herbal Active, that's URBALACTIV.com. That is a THC-free CBD, which the bottom line, without getting into it, is that if you go to the club, the fact that the cannabinoids is CBD and THC, you're on the list. THC-free means you'll still get into the club, but you got to wait a little minute. Bottom line, it works. You can go online, use the code DMAC25 for any products to look on the line. Now, I'll tell you, our friend Ellen, don't mention her last name, she said, but Perry's mom, she got it. One of our viewers, she's used it, and I quote, seriously, just being able to walk on my foot without pain is a gift. And she's tried a lot of other things. I just got that message. I wanted to say, if you're looking for what this is, obviously, that I'll always explain, but thanks to our friends at Herbal Active for doing that. Now back to, like, everybody's got a routine, but like, as you would say, like, I always think, like, don't ever be near the table when Drapes at 6:10, or what was your time, 6:25?
Yeah, I was probably right around 6:15.
6:15.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, everybody had but then we get into a groove, right? Because and it would be, all it is I would, if when I was doing it right, I just follow him around, right? And he'd be following Stevie
When you were doing it right,
in the
correct.
locker room. That's always good. But then you'd have, like Drape said, so if we'd have a 10 o'clock practice, there'd be 12 guys on the bike at 9 o'clock doing a half-hour bike ride before, and then there'd be like 8 guys on who'd like to do it after. But you'd see that, and guys would just, fall in line, because in our room, and this was at the time, when we're coming in and you look around the room, the Cicerellis, the Coffees, the, Stevies, Sergeys, Nick, you name it. It's, how can you not fall in line? So that's how you learn culture.
Yeah, and we didn't have a strength coach. You know, like back then, the strength coach
Well,
was
that's why he
unheard of,
wasn't
you
in there,
know?
yeah.
So it was, you know,
Farm
we just
strength,
kind of, we just did it. We did it because we felt it was right. We did it because we felt it was going to make us better. And, you know, and then when you have, you know, the best of the best doing it, now all of a sudden it just makes sense for everyone, you know, and that's kind of, you know, so that's where, you know, now we hired a new strength coach. Obviously we went towards sports science, hired Mike Barwis, who used to be up at University of Michigan with
You've worked with
Rich
him
Rod.
before, right?
You know what? I've gotten to know him. Unbelievable. I wish that, and I even told him this, that I was able to do something like that, you know, 15 years ago.
Oh.
Like it would have been unbelievable. I watched. It was amazing. He had this tool. And it basically measured pressure. Okay, so it was wrapped around his hand. I watched him go through one of our prospects, basically from head to toe on pressure. Go right side, go to your left, sitting there writing it down. You would find out everything. The right side is stronger than the left side in this, left side then right, going all the way through from neck to shoulders.
That's right
Yeah.
down your out. Did you do it? To see where you're at now? Come on.
I did not want the left hip to get involved in that. That wouldn't have been pretty, but it was, you know, it was unreal, you know, for that. And it's, you know, this is something, it's the same thing that is going to take, you know, some time to get up to where he wants it to go. But it's amazing to watch how, you know, Mike and his team and his staff, and obviously Pete and Russ, and what you know, what the Detroit Red Wings are getting right now, you know. And when you say, you know, we want to be cutting edge, we want to be first class, you know, we're giving that not only to, you know, our current players, but obviously to our younger players as well, you know. So when you start talking about culture and building, you know, that's what we're trying to do. You know, we want everyone to know that if you want to be a Detroit Red Wing, you're going to walk in and you're going to get the best of the best from, you know, food, nutrition, from sleep, strength and conditioning, obviously anything you could think of, you know,
Full
that's what
support.
we want to be, you know, exactly, you know, and that's,
To whom much is given, much is expected.
exactly.
That's what.
you
That's
know,
the sign that
so-
sits walking out of and because that's the whole thing. And God bless Mr. and Mrs. Illich, and that's the, you know, the legacy of a lot of you know, passing it down is because we always were afforded every possibility to be the best that we could be, as far as equipment, as far as travel, as far as everything else. So, you know, bottom line is that's taking care of things that you can now and being educated and moving into the 2000. Would you say that's the biggest difference? You'd like to say, is this like where they've come with science as far as training that you wish you would have had when you played?
For me, yes. Obviously, on the strength and conditioning side, I would have loved to, you know, been a part of what they have going. It just kind of, you know, knowing, you know, when you say you kind of know your body, like literally these guys, they're going to know their bodies of where they're at. And more importantly, we're going to know it too, from, you know, Jeff Blashill's staff to where these guys are, you know, when they can push, when they have to come back. There's a lot of things that are going to go into that, to practices as well. It's, you know, constant communication on the phones, you know, on injuries, on where guys are, health-wise, where they're at, you know, whether they can practice in or out, whatever it might be. But for me, you know, walking into, you know, the weight room at Little Caesars Arena, you know, that was something that, you know, I would have loved to been able to,
They got
train
like
there
a
every day.
running track, sort of astroturf that you could like run on. They got
Everything.
It looks like
Yeah.
it looks like if you had a wish list back in the day, like
Yes.
hey,
Yeah.
anybody-
Well, I was lucky to be a part of some of the things that went into that room.
Well, as you should have been.
You know, so that was, you know, that was obviously, you know, pretty cool. That would have been something that, you know, I would have really liked. As, you know, I was fortunate enough to do a lot of, you know, summer training, and I changed it up and really enjoyed doing a part of that. It got me to 40. You know, which was something obviously I was proud of, but you know, to be able just to do, you know, the stuff that Mike Barwis has right now for these young players, you know, would have been something that I know for sure I certainly would have enjoyed.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I got a couple. I'm going to read a couple. Now I mentioned. So I'm going to take everybody back a little bit. So I think the first time that we had a run in or whatever like this was back. When we mentioned you were drafted as an underager by the Winnipeg Jets, correct?
Yeah.
And then you went to Team Canada. And
No,
then
I was at Team Canada first. I was at Team Canada.
Team
at
Canada got
17,
drafted.
yeah.
Then you ended up in Ottawa.
Correct.
For the 67s.
Yeah.
with your
Brian
blue
Kilray.
blades, with your blue blades and your choker chain.
Correct.
Right, exactly. And I'm gonna give
Matt
Matt
Edson.
Edson. I got a couple pictures there, but Matt Edson even said, "Didn't Drapes used to have blue blades?"
I did.
And you had the choker chain.
I played for
too.
Team Canada.
I know.
So we had to wear. So I had blue.
Oh, you
blades.
had to,
And
because-
it was a herringbone necklace.
It was, and it
Okay.
was like, who is this little redheaded
Yeah.
cute?
Yeah.
Now let me ask you this,
Okay.
right? Because as everybody know, I segue in this with the second question because. So this is how, and guys, grind time listeners, before I ask Chris Draper these, ground rules for when I have guests and you're submitting your questions, get to the point in one paragraph where I've instructed McCool and Perry to discard it because you can't write
Not a paragraph.
No paragraph forms.
One sentence.
One
But-
sentence.
One sentence. But
Okay.
here
Okay.
it comes from me, okay?
Can you do it in one sentence?
No, I don't need
Okay,
to.
that's what I want to
You
hear.
know why it's
okay?
called grind time with
Right.
Darren McCarty? Because I don't need
Remember
to.
we used to point? Remember? Hey,
Absolutely.
when all of a sudden you start. So if
Absolutely.
you start going off, I'm doing the point.
All
Okay?
right. Yeah,
Get you
can.
focused.
Try to keep
All
you
right?
back on it.
All
But
right.
hey, from my guy, actually, Darren Dink Reynolds, who I went to high school with,
Okay.
who would have seen you play, he wants to know. What was the worst feeling? Getting traded for $1
Yeah.
or getting beat up by a Gretzky?
Okay. Now. Okay.
And I'm referring to Brent Gretzky
Yeah.
because OHL game of the week when Drapes was with Ottawa.
Yeah.
You
Go
want to
on.
explain?
Oh, it was
this?
game of the week?
Yeah, Gretz was my centerman, and Drapes was as annoying as he was on the grind line. Like I tell everybody, I used to go in so many piles, and they'd be saying, Draper, Maltby, what a bunch of assholes. I'd be like, yeah, they are, but they're my assholes. But you was just as annoying back then.
Correct.
And you and Gretz got into it in the OHL game of the week.
Yeah.
Started behind the net. Two little fucking water bugs throwing down behind the net like. Do you remember that fight?
I do. And you know the true story. of it.
Wait, I know the true story or what?
Yeah.
I listen.
You've had listen. You know and I because I haven't had this feeling too often. You know when you pounded someone.
Yeah.
Okay, and you know when you hit someone hard. And I actually surprised myself because I hit Brent hard. Okay, you know it. You were sitting there, and I know you wanted a piece. You want to come in. The only thing saving me that game was this guy named Chris Simon.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Oh.
So I knew right now that there was going to be no hesitation at all. I could fight Brent Gretzky knowing that I'm not getting a Darren McCarty because we have Chris Simon.
Right, right.
So, okay.
He was
so,
and you know what? See, and you wonder why Drapes was such a great politician over the years, whether he had Darren McCarty or Joey Kosher or Chris Simon. I mean, this guy, you know what?
I know how to
why
pick
he's a
my
director of
friends.
amateur scouting?
Okay.
Yes, you did.
I know how to pick my friends.
You are, dude.
Yeah.
You are unbelievable.
Unreal, yeah,
unbelievable.
Well, Brian Kilray, the great Brian Kilray.
Killer, yep.
So when I got to Ottawa, Chris Snell, Jeff Riccardi, who was our captain, he actually
him and I used to
fought
fight
all
every
the time.
game.
It was
Yeah, you mentioned
unreal.
that.
It was
He was one of the toughest guys ever.
It was unbelievable how these guys fought every single game.
Like
And
3-minute
he
fights.
You know, he scouts for Sudbury Wolves now, eh?
No, really?
Yeah. So he
Oh.
lives up in Thunder Bay, scouts for Sudbury. So I ran into him around the rinks, and so Chris Snell, Chris Simon, Jeff Riccardi, and Killer picked me up at the airport when I got sent down from Winnipeg to Ottawa. So we get in the car and all this, and we went right to practice. And so anyway, so I was getting dressed. Brian Kilray pulls me in his office, and Chris Simon's already sitting in there. So I was a big man,
He
tough.
still is.
Yeah, and like tough.
I played with him in Calgary.
Yeah,
too.
you know, and just an unbelievable guy. Anyway, so Brian Kilray goes to me, he goes, here's the deal. He goes, this guy here, he's going to take care of you on the ice. He goes, and you're going to take care of him off the ice. Okay, so I was kind of sitting there. I said, all right, I like this. You know, this kind of gives me a little bit of freedom. Now I'm kind of thinking I got a good feeling of how this year is going to go. So that night we went out, and all of a sudden then we stayed out, and then it stayed out, and then the next day we come into practice. I go to Brian Kilray. I go, Coach, the deal's off. Okay, I am not taking care of this guy off the ice. It's over, like this. But you know,
Little
great.
did you know how it was.
Little did you know how well prepared he would be for me.
I see,
Hey,
exactly.
So him and Ozzy and Max said a couple weeks ago when Ozzy was on that
Yeah.
they prepared you to be the assistant general manager with everything they put you through.
You listen.
He was always and Oz is the same sort of thing. Is that whenever we come, we'd always say this, you know. And this is it. Whenever I come into the room, and then they'd look at me, and I was not in good shape, and Ozzy be hiding or stuff like that. They'd automatically go yell at Drapes.
I took so much heat for these guys. Okay, it was unbelievable, and this is actually one of my most favorite stories ever. So it's training camp, and I like shows. You know, back then I even liked watching obviously all the series are starting up right now, and I watched ER. Okay, I liked ER back in the day. So it was the season premiere. And Ozzy was like, "Come on, we're going out." I said, "No, I'm not going out." Plus, we had games coming out, number one, but number two, I'm staying home to watch TV. And I said, "Oz, just stay home. We'll hang out, whatever." No, I'm going out. Oz goes out, so I stay at home, sitting there watching TV. We're at Riverfront apartment. All of a sudden, he comes in. It's around midnight. I'm in bed like this, and he opens up the door, and he comes in, and he sits on the edge of my bed. He puts his head between his hands like this. He goes, "I've seen it all. I can't believe it. Why'd I go? Should have stayed with you." He's having this, you told me to stay. Like, why did I have to go out? It's like, why? And he's throwing out the whys like he always did and everything. I'm like, what are you talking about? Why are you in my room? What are you talking about? Scotty Bowman was at the bar. We had a 12 o'clock curfew. Scotty Bowman walked into the bar, okay? So in the bar was, obviously it was Ozzy plus 3, okay? And so he's sitting there, and Scotty comes wheeling in. He has eye contact with Chris Osgood, okay? And he sits there, and he looks, and he's pointing to his watch. He's pointing to his watch like this, and Ozzy's he gets that blank, deer in headlights, blank stare, whiter than white, like this, and all of a sudden he takes off, so he comes home. So anyway, I guess Scotty called our assistant coach, Barry Smith, and he made a call, and then I'll get into how the call went. So the next morning, I show up at the rink, and I'm chipper, and I'm so happy like this. Guys went out. Guys, I didn't get caught, or I wasn't out.
Which you got to explain, right? Because in the dressing room.
Well, it was always if Ozzy was out, I was out. Mac was. It was just how it was.
But it's when you know you're scot free, and you know that other guys are going to get burned, especially when you're dealing with Scotty.
And it's Ozzy.
And it's Ozzy. like this is like it's like your birthday.
Yeah.
Times 10 because it's like imagine finally he caught him red-handed. Yep. He caught Ozzy red-handed.
Because usually they would come to me no matter what, and this time there's no chance. So anyway, I come into the room like this, wheeling around, bouncing around, all this stuff. Anyways, I'm sitting in my stall, getting ready for practice. Timmy Abbott comes to me. "Scotty wants to see you," like this. And I was like, "All right, no problem." So I come wheeling in. He goes, "Where were you?" I was at home. "No, you weren't." I go, "I was at home last night." Like this. "No, you weren't." He goes, "Anywhere Ozzy goes, you go." I called Barry, and I told him, I said, "Barry, 4 men down. I know Draper's there. I can't find him. He's there." Like this. So I was just like, I go, "Scotty, I was not there." Like this, so whatever. So even though I wasn't there, to this day, I still got blamed for going out for being there, So it was, it was just one of those, fun stories. And back then, like training camp, we played 9 games. Like I probably played 8 of them.
Yeah.
There was some, like I think one year Maltz played all 9 preseason games. Which doesn't happen anymore because if Stevie didn't want to play, they needed a centerman. So it was Sergei Igor.
You had so many tenured guys.
Yeah.
You were always you were always like the counted it. Like it was like, what other 3 guys are we going to put in?
So it was always
Scotty
for
did
sure.
that on purpose.
Oh, absolutely he did.
Just tell him, hey, here's the best. So we went back to you were traded for $1, and so Drapes comes and it was like training camp or whatever. But you'd gone down to Adirondack, and I'd stayed up
in 93,
94. But you come in halfway. Right?
January 24th.
January 24th. And this is the best. So can you tell the story? Because I don't know if it was your first practice or your second practice when Scotty blew it down and and he pointed you out about being like the rest of them.
Yeah.
So it started from the beginning. So you got to understand, because I tell everybody, Scotty Bowman, whatever, greatest coach, greatest psychologist. And, where you'll see on the Russian 5, Sergei say, "Scotty tell you to do this more." And then I'd be like, "No," Scotty would tell me, "Don't ever do that again." Then he'd say to you, it'd be different, but he'd say to you this like this.
Yeah, we were having, obviously, we were having a practice.
You got to preface this with getting called up, being nervous, because people don't know you. They think you're all calm, cool. You're a nervous wreck, all right? Like a lot of times when it comes to that sort of thing, being a rookie,
at the time.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, first of all, I remember getting called up because I got called up on one of my best friend's birthday.
And I think make this analogy to the fact that you told me the story about Baby Bert and Stevie, or about Stevie coming back, about the guys.
Yeah,
Because that's the whole thing about the.
So I end up getting called up. We actually had a road trip from Hershey. We had a bus drive back, so it was like we ended up getting late. And it's not like you're getting it on your cell phone. It's like, I live with Kevin Hodson and Craig Martin. I don't even know if we had a house phone. And, so they're trying to get a hold of me in Detroit. Finally, they end up getting a hold of me in Detroit, and I get called up, and I'm like, basically, I'm like thinking to myself, okay, this is my chance. Like, I want to be a Detroit Red Wing. I don't want to be back in Adirondack. And I get called up, play the first game. We play against Chicago. We end up losing 5-1. I knock about 4 of Steve Smith's teeth out. I was trying to play a puck, and I caught him with a high stick, and I'm getting five minutes for that. We lose. I'm thinking, what a disaster, done. The next night I actually play again. We go into Chicago. We win in Chicago. So now I'm like kind of thinking, so things are kind of going pretty good. And when Mac talks about a routine, I was staying at the old Pontchartrain Hotel, and when I talk about routine, I would set my alarm at the exact same time. I would sleep the exact same way. I would eat it was everything. Like, I was not coming out. I'd walk to the rink the same way, everything. And I was just like, I have to remain a Detroit Red Wing. And anyway, so practice is going, on. And I mean, obviously we had a very talented group. Practice was a horrendous practice. Okay.
Led by the worst practice player in history. Who's the worst practice player in history? I'm third.
Yeah. You can say it.
Steve Eisman's the worst practice player in history. Second, but who's second? Turbo.
Luke?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Luke Robitaille's second, and I'm third.
Yeah. Okay. They would never pay attention.
I'm third. I'll let you tell the backwards story one time.
So we're going. So anyway, so we go out for practice. Practice is terrible and all this stuff. Basically, Scotty, I don't know if he blew the whistle or the duck horn, one of the two, to bring us in. So he brings us in, and it was just like full. He starts giving it to everybody, and then he points to me, and he's like, and you, like this. He goes, don't you be like the rest of these guys, and all this. And I'm kind of like sitting there, and everyone looks at me, okay, like this. I got Stevie looking at me. I got Koff looking at me. I got Sergey looking at me, and all this. Dino looking at me, and all this. And when I say I turn beet red, and all this stuff and everything. And he goes, and if you start practicing with these guys, and if you think you're going to be like this guy, you're going to be back to Adirondack so fast and all this. And I'm just kind of sitting there. I was just like, no, like this can't be happening, So anyways, I was just like, when you talk about, the greatest of all time, Scotty Bowman, and then it was just like, I'm kind of like, come on, guys, let's have a great practice. Try to rally the groups where the drill went right, and I'm banging my stick and all this. And obviously from the, something that obviously I'm very proud of, from January 24th in 1994 when I got called up till I retired in 2011, never went back to Adirondack. Something obviously, very proud of. And, the $1 story is it's interesting.
My favorite's a payback.
Yeah, yeah. So we can go into that,
yeah.
But we're in San Jose. We're playing San Jose in the first round of the playoffs. This is 1994, and the series back then went 2-3-2. So we were started in Detroit. We went into San Jose for 3, and then obviously we come back home. So one of the games in San Jose, I ended up scoring. I was goal and assist, and I was first star of the game. We ended up winning the game, and I had a reporter come to me and just kind of asking, about, tell me kind of like, where have you come, like all this stuff, no one, had heard of me or whatever it was. And it was kind of an interesting story and whatever. So I, have the, the story, and all of a sudden the reporter's like, thanks a lot, Chris. And he walks away and he goes, not bad for someone that was traded for $1. And he just keeps walking. And I'm kind of like, oh, what did he just say? $1, So I'm like, so I kind of track him down the hallway. I go, excuse me, sir, like, you kind of lost me there. I don't know what you meant by, the traded for $1. And he looked at me and he goes, you don't know? And I go, I don't know what? He goes, you were traded for $1. And I was just like, seriously? He goes, oh yeah, like this, So he ended up writing the article about being traded for $1. So I went to our PR guy. I go, this guy's going to like write a story about me saying that I was traded for $1. Was it true? He goes, it's true. He goes, it's amazing that it took this long to come out, but it's true. You were traded for $1 and stuff. And I was kind of like, well, who cares? I'm a Detroit Red Wing right now. I don't care. So to what Mac was saying, so after we won the cup in 1997, and we came out and we had no idea what was going on. We were actually in the dressing room, like as a group. We had the Stanley Cup with us, and there was a fan appreciation night. And nobody had any idea of what this fan appreciation night was. Next thing you know, it's like they come and grab us.
Maybe because they haven't won a cup in 42 years, so it was something new.
Didn't know anything, but we had no idea what was going on. We were all just sitting together, talking, whatever. And next thing you know, Mickey Redmond comes back or whatever, comes and grabs us, and there's a stage at center ice, and there has to be probably 25,000 people.
Dude,
like,
it's
I was
packed,
there. I was there.
It's
Like-
as packed as it was for the last game.
Yeah, and
Like 2
same
days, yeah.
same kind of setup of where you are, and we're all kind of looking around, and then everyone said, well, we want everyone to come up and kind of thank the fans and everything, so everyone's kind of scrambling, all right, like, what are we going to say, and, in numerical, it's all going on, and everyone's trying to one-up each other, okay, what are we going to do, whatever, so I had to go, Kevin Hodgson, who's one of the funniest teammates that we ever played with,
I'm going to have him on, too.
you
though.
should,
We will.
hilarious, okay,
I want
this
to
guy...
I want to have like I told Ozzy, when Ticker comes, if it works out or whatever, when Ticker comes down or whatever,
Yeah.
to sit around and
Unbelievable how he was one of the funniest guys that we played with. So he gets up, and it was almost like a stand-up comic show.
I remember that.
And
Yeah.
I'm sitting there, and I'm next, and I'm like, how are you gonna top this? So I was sitting there, I kind of feeling around, and so I was like, all right, I think I got something. So whatever. So I come up on stage, and Ticker, Kevin Hudson, fantastic, and everything. I said, well, it's obviously public knowledge. Everyone knows I was traded for $1. I said, Mr. and Mrs. Ilitch, I know that this kind of, almost broke you to step up and trade, $1. I go, that's not even a bag of pepperonis, all right, that you made the trade. And I just basically thanked them for it. And I said, you know what, I was always taught, by my mom and dad, you got to pay your debts. So I reached into my pocket, I pulled out a $1 bill, and I said, Mr. and Mrs. Ilitch, we're even. So I gave them the $1.
That's
and,
awesome.
one of the coolest things that, that I was told is that, it was framed and it was in the Fox Theater in the Ilitch's office. So, real cool that they
Wow.
kept the $1. So it was, pretty amazing how, for $1. And, that's the one thing that, we're lucky I get to talk to, all our prospects about stuff like this. It's like whether you go in the first round, the 7th round, free agent, doesn't matter. I mean, you can make it, and there's guys that have. Mac went through the draft twice, he goes through the draft twice, he ends up getting, picked by Kenny Holland at the draft, and look at, the career he's sitting there, it's right there, 4 cups, later. So those are the things that, that we're lucky to be able to share with these young guys coming in. And obviously, we do have a lot of picks, we have a lot of first rounders that are coming, but, those guys, we expect those guys to come, but for us to get better, some of those players that we're picking in the mid to late rounds, these guys have to be better than not only we thought, but the industry thought. And if these guys can be that much better than, if like a Thomas Holmstrom, all of a sudden, if somebody can turn into a Thomas Holmstrom that we took, 4, 5, 6 round or something like that, that's how you start getting better. The expectations are that you're going to have the best. Your top picks are going to make it. That's what we expect, and then we just need some of these support players to come up, and so that's obviously very fortunate.
That's
to be
the
able
character.
Yep, for sure.
Hey, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not, but it's been, how long has it been, McCool, since I've got that Miracle Flow?
I think it's been about 3 to 4 weeks.
3 to 4
yeah,
weeks.
something
Can
like
you
that.
tell the difference? Miracle Drapes, Phil from Miracle
good.
Flow, the only hair care product for guys with majestic flows and those who want it. Miracle Flow is specially formulated for athletes with longer hair to help rejuvenate the flow after the beating it takes in your sweaty helmet. Miracle Flow makes products for guys with flow by guys with flow. Our shampoo is used by NHL, MLB, lacrosse, NFL, Division I athletes, and more. Remember, Miracle Flow, it's not just a hairstyle, it's a lifestyle. If you're on Instagram, you got to check that out because there's unbelievable mullets. It's all mullets.
Oh,
That's all
okay.
it is.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so Phil from Miracle
Probably
Flow.
right out of Minnesota high school tournament.
Absolutely,
Those guys,
dude.
yeah.
Absolutely. Couple questions, Mr. Christopher Draper.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
So these are from our listeners. We had them submit questions to
Okay.
us.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why we got the photos.
Yeah, so I signed them already, and if you wouldn't mind signing.
course
So
I
this
will,
is
yeah.
from Des Ryan. Now, 1998 Cup Final.
Yeah.
Game 2.
Okay.
Right? Was that the biggest goal you scored in your career? And if so or if not, do you remember? Let's talk about that goal, because the big question is, who's the first guy that tackled you in the dog pile, and do you remember what was said?
After I scored that goal?
Yeah.
Well, I remember.
I
First of all, I
the
can
goal.
tell. I can tell the answer is absolutely, definitely the biggest goal that I ever scored, and probably one of my best dances that I ever did too. Afterwards, kind of end up kind of going a little backwards into the glass. Who grabbed me in the pile? I don't remember. I just remember two things. Number one, we won the game, and number two, I scored the goal. And that was something that as a kid you always dreamt about, scoring an OT Stanley Cup final goal, and I was able to do it. So that was something that I'll never forget, and especially how that game went. As it's crazy. Essa Tikkanen rolling.
I was back checking. Back checking on that. I don't know why. One of the D must have screwed up. I was back checking center ice when I saw that open net, and I went
gaping.
I went no.
Yeah. Oh,
gaping, and he pulled that.
It's unreal.
That was the greatest hook.
If you ask Ozzy, he had it.
He also had the Guinnesses and Langenbrugers too, right?
Yeah. So that obviously would have sealed the deal, and then our buddy downtown Dougie Brown ties it up, and then into overtime we go. So definitely for me, just all those things. Stanley Cup Finals, scoring it at home. But there's actually a funny story to this. The day of that game. So going into that game, I was the only Red Wing, or only forward not to score a goal. I hadn't had a goal yet.
Right.
And of course, going out for warm up, Scotty said something. And
no.
So I heard him, and I'm like, would he really say that in game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals? And I was just like, I go, Scotty, what? Like this. He goes, and then he's like, what? I guess I go, what did you say? He goes, do you have a goal? I go, no. I go, I'm due.
Which when Scotty said those things, obviously, he always knew the answer before you did.
Yeah. So he said that, and I was kidding around, and I'm like, kind of like, well, I'm due, coach, so whatever. So I skate around, do my warm up, and all this. So as everything goes on, and we're coming off the ice, Scotty's at the door, and he goes to me, he goes, who scored the goal? So I told, obviously, he was fired up. So the answer would be yes, the goal against Washington, definitely, the biggest goal and my most favorite goal that I scored.
That's awesome. Yep. That's awesome. Yeah, because you were, just getting on that topic too, and the duration, because, what I look for, or the things that, obviously proud of, is having the 4 cups with you and Maltz and Nick and Homer, but it's also too is a lot of times is the work that's got there. One of the things the question, do you remember? Tell everybody how the grind line started.
Yeah, it was in St. Louis. We were sitting there in the playoffs in 1997, and we were sitting there, and it was kind of funny. I just kind of threw something out there. I'm like, we got to name our line, our line needs a name, something like that. And we were kidding around, obviously, with the Brews. But I go, Joe, you already had something. It's like, now we got to come up with something. So we're sitting there, we're throwing out. Johnny Wharton was there with us, and we were I can't remember any of the other names.
Well, the others must have been stupid. We can't remember.
Yeah. And then I think we someone threw out grind line. And
so who threw it out? Because I know where you. I'm gonna segue this with because I know the answer to where you got your nickname.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I remember that.
So
I don't know. Do you was it Joey? I mean,
I'm gonna give
he's
Joey
a seniority. I'm not arguing with Joey.
He's Papa.
He's Papa. So let's give him.
Even he's got that torn bicep, and he's golfing one-handed.
I know.
Still, that left would hurt.
Yeah. So I would say, we're sitting there, and then all of a sudden it's, we're, then we actually kind of started calling ourselves the grind line.
which I want you guys to know, because I learned a lot of things from Chris Draper, but self-promotion and repetition, right, it's muscle memory. So if you believe it and you repeat it, then people So,
Yeah.
I mean,
We started kidding around to the point where it'd be like grind lines up,
Yeah.
up, who's up, grind lines up, and we started, it was, what are these guys talking about, and we were obviously vocal, we had a lot of fun, we had personalities, and I think a lot of guys kind of, gravitated, towards the group, and it'd be honest, I mean, we go out for dinner, and it's, the grind line would go out for dinner, so we kid around, it's like, grind line's going out for dinner, so.
grind line go.
Yeah.
Grind line go.
So it was,
and the best part, I think, looking back at it, it's the Fetisovs, it's the Larionov, Stevie, it's the older guys that you never let, like, they just, what a bunch of goofballs, but they loved it. It was sort of like the Hansons sort of, like, gimmick sort of thing.
Well, it's the only line in hockey to have 4 people on it.
Yeah.
That's the amazing. Did you ever tell the Wendell Clark story?
Go ahead. This is the best.
So Wendell told Joey Kosar, obviously those guys grew up in Saskatchewan together and buddies forever and everything, and so every time they talk about the grind line, it was, you could see it was Draper, Maltby, Kosar, McCarty. And then Wendell Clark, the one guy, he goes, I'll tell you what, he goes, there was nights where I actually felt that there was 4 guys on the ice, and it's just, obviously it kind of speaks volumes to, the way that we played, we played fast, we played hard, and when things kind of got out of control, it was either on the right side, it was either Darren or Joey that was earning their paycheck that night, and, so that's kind of how it went, but into obviously, the nicknames, I know.
Here, so your nickname is Nails, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nails, as in tough as nails. We named a stable. We had horses, tough as nails stable.
Yeah.
But Nails, which was back, and you can figure it out, but I'm saying
with a Z, with a Z,
with 2 Z's actually.
Yeah, Nails.
Yeah, Nails, right? Which Lenny Dykstra was the center fielder, right? And
for the Phillies.
So what year would you say?
That was 98. So we were actually.
So
I remember
it was that because bro, you are tough as nails. So it makes sense that it was after.
But I'll never forget it because we used to stay the night before. We stayed at hotels.
Yeah.
And we were staying at the Athenaeum.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if the Tigers were playing the Phillies or if something was going on. The Phillies were on TV. And Lenny Dykstra had on his shoes. He had nails on it. So I'm kind of sitting there, and I was like, and I liked Lenny Dykstra as a baseball player.
Oh yeah,
I loved him.
Way to as a ball player.
Yeah. Well, no,
between the lines,
baseball player.
Right,
as a Philadelphia Philly, big Dykstra fan.
Yeah.
And so he's sitting there. He's like nails. So we're just kind of sitting there, and I roll over, and I look at him, and I go to Mac. I go, I'm Nails.
From now on, I'm Nails.
Yeah, so
when
he's like,
when you address me as Nails.
Yeah. So
and I'm like, serious? I'm like, yeah, that's my new nickname.
That it was so funny. So I go, I want you to say, good night, Nails. So then he's sitting there and he's like, good night, Nails. I was like, doesn't it sound good? Like, say it again. Good night, Nails. So anyway, so that's how we do it. So the next day we kind of came to practice, and Mac would have been, hey guys, or Nails and this and that and whatever. To this day, I talked to Igor Larionov. He calls me Nails. Stevie, still does. At times, and so it was a nickname. It was a self-proclaimed nickname. I'm not, I'm okay with it.
No, but you have to get your buddy to ride with it. Because
right.
But and as we're on nicknames,
you endorsed it.
I did.
Yes.
I loved it.
Yeah.
Because it's, obviously anybody gets their face smashed in front and gets up. That's like gets up as a hockey player with the friggin' what you had done and skated up, because that's, to me, but like the nicknames, because it has to work though.
Yeah.
Because the thing with our dressing room is nicknames get thrown out all the time.
Yeah.
Now, I would ask you some of your favorite ones, and I'm going to out myself first because you can't use pizza ass, because you guys always call me pizza ass because I maybe have rash on my butt from the laundry or whatever like that. But
Or lack of laundry.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So you guys, you fucking assholes, just call me pizza ass. So other than that, because Ozzy was always the king of the nicknames.
Yeah, he came up with,
and he'd always like.
Well, I thought the one that I love is, and we just talked about, Kevin Hodson, Ticker. Because what happened with, and I was actually there. It was down in Adirondack. We were sitting there. We were having a pregame meal, and all of a sudden he's turning into, like, he just starts sweating. And it's game day, and we talked. I'm routine orientated like this, so it's like I'm ready. Like I'm like, what's wrong? He's talking about his heart, and it's like you feel his heart, and he's sweating. So I go to Craig Martin. I go, like, Marty, you got this? I got to get a nap. I got a game tonight, and that's our starting goaltender. Right. Anyway, so we end up obviously calling. We called 911, and they actually came. And so he obviously, the heart was going. He had something going on, and so that when I saw him, I asked him. I said, how's the ticker? And so everyone kind of started laughing. So then we all started calling him Ticker. So that was one of my favorites. And then probably the other one that stands out is Anders Eriksson. We named him Bubba because he was pretty. Swedes are pretty lean and for the most part svelte. But Bubba, he liked his treats and Swedish candies and Swedish chocolate is very good and very. So we were at the back of the original Redbird 1, and we're sitting there and we're playing cards, and as I hear this the rappers going around and all this stuff, and we're like, what are you doing? He's got a big bag of this Swedish chocolate that he's just crushing on the plane right as we're going. So we ended up calling him Bubba. So that was I would probably say Bubba and Ticker were two of the ones that I had a lot of fun with.
How did Scotty react? Did he ever call anybody with the nicknames, or did he take to the grind line? Did he ever say grind line go, grind line up?
He probably would. He wouldn't be like, he would have. But usually he's telling Barry who's up or whatever that. Yeah. But it would get to a point that because like Drape said, this is like '98 or whatever like this. So by the time it's 2002, I even know that. It was related to grind line. Everything was grind line.
Right.
First, in the interesting thing in 2002, I started the playoffs with Sergei and Shanny, and obviously we lost the first two games, and we came back, and then Scotty basically said, I'm putting the grind line back together, and then we ended up obviously being we ended up winning. 4 straight from Vancouver and going on, but that was so I would say that a lot of people referred to. It was funny when you're talking about 1, you're talking about 3, or 4, however 4, it was, and that was the that was the pretty cool thing. And even in the film when people are sitting there, they're talking about the Russian 5 and the grind line. It's like to be in the same sentence as that,
dude. It's
an unbelievable compliment. It's you think of where where we all came from, and Maltz being a trade deadline acquisition, Mac obviously going through the draft twice, me being traded for $1, and the three of us not only creating a friendship but creating something special on the ice. And I think it just worked. There's some things you put a line together and it just works, and I think a lot of it was with having Mac there, and obviously we talk about Joey as well. That let Maltz and I play, basically, cross this edge, cross this threshold of how we could play. That probably, I'll admit it, if I didn't have these guys every night, maybe I would have picked at my spots a little bit better. But, with these guys there, we were allowed to, we could do what we want. And it was going against the Sakic's, the Forsbergs, and Medanos. It wasn't fourth line against fourth line or third line against third line. And that's the amazing thing is that
shutting down the Legion of Doom. That's one of the greatest. Not only like talking about obviously scoring a goal, but for Lindros not scoring till 11 seconds left to shut those guys up, because that's. If anything
and outscoring them,
dude, right, exactly. Because the first game and with you guys, and then Joey scoring, but just being able to, because if you know us at all, we like to score. We wanted to score, but we were more interested in shot. We took so much pride in keeping the top guys and making it hard. I've never seen anybody I used to tell everybody this, man. I said, I used to feel bad because of watching you and Maltz abuse Wayne Gretzky in the 96 playoff series, right? But it goes to show you that's what it's all about. And as Wayne would say, which is the ultimate sign of respect, it's one of those things, is that I hate Draper, and I say that because I want him on my team,
right?
And just different things like that. Wait, hold on, Perry, because do you have a MyPillow? Have you heard of MyPillow?
I've seen the commercials.
I got to get you this because MyPillow is one of our sponsors, and here at Grind Time,
We're proud to announce the fine folks at MyPillow are on board with our team. Yes, Mike Lindell and everybody right now, you can get 2 MyPillows for the very low price of $69.98, but only if you use promo code DMAC. You can spell that any way you want. I use DMAC. But go to mypillow.com and pick up some pillows, maybe some Giza sheets, or I had a bulldog, Hank. He had to put him down, so I took his dog, MyPillow, and they're twice as big and they're great.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm in.
So use go to mypillow.com, use code DMAC when you're checking out, and enjoy the pillow that all grind time with Darren McCarty people sleep on. I gotta ask. I don't. Have we ever really talked about? I tell everybody I'm gonna go to March. I'm gonna go to like the whole. I don't know if you and I have we ever really talked about like when when you got hit from behind. I tell it all the time, and because the thing that I want people where they have to understand from my point of view is when it happened right in front of me. It happened like flabbergasted because of the noise that you're like. Do you have any recollection of being hit, or was it just coming off the ice to?
Yeah, no. Obviously, I had no recollection at all. Probably the interesting thing, and you know, it's I never really talked about it. You know,
No.
it was just one of those things that happened. You know, you knew retribution was coming. You didn't know when, but you knew it was coming.
But it was my point to the whole thing. It's the shit. You're first one. I'm first one. We talk about this in the backbone is because of what's right, and wrong is wrong. And stuff happens in the game.
Yeah.
Stuff happens in life.
Yeah.
But you have to have respect for your opponent. And when Claude, my biggest thing was he was going to get. You know, you don't do that, and something happens, but. Usually at the end of it, it's somebody's like, well, you know, yeah, I meant to hit him. Unfortunately, you know, I didn't. I feel sorry. You know, I apologize.
Yeah.
And the exact opposite happened.
Yeah. Well,
that's why it turned.
Yeah, and the interesting thing, honestly, probably the first time that I realized, obviously, I knew how bad it was, but when I heard Johnny Wharton talk about it in the Russian 5, like I was. Like I like my throat locked up. Like I didn't I'd never heard it told, you know, that descriptive. You know, I can sit here and say, you know what, I broke my jaw, my nose, you know, my orbital, and you know, like I know I did all of those. But when he started talking about that injury right there and what it was, and you could see it on his face. You know, now, you know, you're just kind of like, you know, wow, like obviously it was something that a lot of people in the medical industry, like in the hockey world hadn't seen before. And, you know, obviously, you know, like the one thing I wasn't doing is I wasn't staying down, you know, and I ended up getting up. And the one thing, so I don't remember instantly, I don't remember the feeling, I didn't feel anything.
Right.
It didn't hurt. Which is kind of crazy to say, but I think it was kind of, you know, in shock.
Yeah.
And I remember Johnny Wharton and Keith Primo were taking me off the ice, and I could see, remember at McNichol, we had to kind of skate through to get off the boards. And I can see the door open, and I just kept saying to myself, just get to the door. Like, that's all I was trying to do.
Without throwing up or
you know, yeah, and I don't even,
out.
you know, obviously I think I passed out before I got to the door, but I got far enough, you know, there. So obviously with, you know, the concussion and everything. And the amazing thing is probably 2 or 3 times I kind of came up, and the ones, you know, I sat up, and you know how it is. It's, you start getting dressed and you think you're going back out. I was on pain meds, and I didn't feel a thing at all. And I start getting dressed, and, you know, it was, Doc, I just drew a blank on
Finley?
Doc Finley, excuse me. Doc Finley is just like, where do you think you're going? I'm like, you know, Doc, I got to finish the
Where
game.
do you think you're going?
You know,
man?
so then they walked me over, and I saw it in the mirror, and then that's when it was obviously on the outside. That's when I realized how bad it was. But you guys didn't realize. I mean, you knew I got hit, but nobody really, because we had the 2 dressing rooms, and nobody realized exactly, you know, the extent of the injuries till afterwards. So that was, but it's amazing, how, people, taught, like when I say it, I'm sincere about it. I wouldn't change anything.
No,
I wouldn't change, and obviously I know you wouldn't.
I would no. I mean,
You know, like
it
it's,
I mean,
You know?
I see, and it always comes back to what Chris Draper has sacrificed for me.
Exactly.
Right? I didn't
Yeah.
really realize.
Everyone thought it was the other way
how he-
around.
right, exactly. And he's setting it up, and he's like, "I'm going to make you famous, kid."
Yeah.
But see that, and that's the whole thing. I always tell in my comedy thing is that and the serious part, the jokes at the end, but the serious part is there's only one thing ever said. Between and I want this on record. Like the only thing I ever said was when I got you from the hospital, right? And the doctor gave me the pliers, and I think we were in the car, and I looked at you and I said, "Don't worry, I'll take care of this." Then I asked you where you wanted to eat. That was the joke on the Almo. But it takes you 4 hours for a guy with his jaw wired shut and plate in his face to eat a friggin' plate of gnocchi.
So
selfish.
Good. So good. Yeah. That was, and actually the amazing thing is that was the US Open 96 at Oakland Hills. And so obviously Mac was going there. I mean, I hadn't eaten a solid meal in probably 7-8 days, and I'm like, I got to get something in me, and whatever. So the one thing that I had to do, because I was wired shut at the back on both sides, and then on the middle on both sides. And the oral surgeon gave me a pair of pliers, and he's like, if anything happens, like, you need these, whatever. So not quite sure what I was thinking, but I gave them to Mac, and I said, if I ever need these, you have my pliers. And so that was so we went out, and we were actually at Oakland Hills for the Saturday Sunday.
Yeah, it was. It was a good time. But but that's really like between any of us, it was one of those things that it just like. The way that it built up, but we didn't sit around talking about it. And like the adamant thing about what came up to March 26 is because we had to win the game, right? Because we set the league record 62 wins. That happens to you. We hadn't beaten them throughout the year.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just like
down early too in that game. We were
yeah.
down early.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
Kamensky, dude. But it was like the perfect storm. And then if you watch Russian 5 and see like.
Yeah.
The biggest pacifist next to Gandhi starts at Igor.
I know.
That's but I mean,
and Forsberg.
Right, but Igor just
Yeah.
has enough and the way that it plays out, and you can't write it like a better script, and the fact that the biggest slap in the face is I score the overtime winner.
Well, that you're still in the game.
Yeah, dude. Shady said I would have got 7-10, which means today I would have been paying my whole salary to play.
Yeah.
But no, but it's just the fact of the way it works out. But tell me, because it's the same feeling after that game, and I know it was the proverbial, everything's going to be all right, I don't know what it means. That's what it feels like now with Stevie back, with you, with all the guys in the spots. The biggest thing, and I want people to take away, that's the culture that we learned is where the culture is now, because just putting things in the right spots, having guys do to the best of their ability what they love and enjoy, and that's how we won. That's how we won championships.
Yeah.
But even do you remember how does that from your perspective? Because do you remember? Because to me, the one thing that I remember out of anything is when I'm hammering them and I don't see stuff going on behind me, Shannon, but I look up and it was like church where that beam comes down. 'Cause you were sitting right there, and I took his head. And I ran that thing, and I tell everybody I bulldogged that thing so hard. Right, and it was like right at that moment. Then I tried to knee him. That's what which is amazing why I wouldn't get it out. But
Devo didn't see it.
Or Shaqky. No, it's a good thing, right? But that was like, but that's the way that it used to, like that, right then it was like, okay, that was great. But again, we had to win the game.
Exactly. And then that's the whole, it could be a different script. It's a different story. If
I mean, the revenge is great.
We won the fight, but we still hadn't beat them. Now all of a sudden, the way everything that played out for us was, they had us down, they had our number. Now all of a sudden, this fight breaks out. We're kind of rallying around how it was. And then the most important thing is, we come back and win that hockey game. Now, all of a sudden, it's, when you start thinking of, physically we responded, and then we also responded, on the scoreboard, which was, never mind for them. It was the most important thing for us, is that we were able to do it. It's like, and they were, what a rivalry and what two great organizations and the players that they have. Like, it's unbelievable when you start thinking. That's what made that rivalry so special, was obviously because of the great players that were involved in that, and it was unreal. And, I think, the games, the game of hockey, I think, obviously embraced it, that rivalry. All I know is on that day when I walked into the rink on March 26th, there was probably about 5 cameras on me walking into the rink, not on Forsberg or Sakic or Waugh or Yzerman or Shanahan or Lidstrom. It was on me, kind of walking in. ESPN was doing it, and you kind of, there was just something there. The fans, the 20,000 plus at the Joe, they felt something was going to happen. Like Max said, you didn't know when, but you kind of knew that something was going to happen. And I don't think anyone could have expected it to play out the way it did. And the videos and the highlights, and it's unbelievable. When I have a son, an 02 son that plays hockey, when they kind of got a little bit older. And all of a sudden, they started YouTubing and they saw all this. It was just like, wow. And I actually, a pretty cool event. My son's team, the Little Caesars team, the U16s, we all watched the Russian Five together down at Little Caesars Arena. And, the amazing thing is a lot of, Keenan's buddies and teammates knew about the hit and the injury and all that. But like I said, when John Wharton's sitting there, describing it, it's, all these, young hockey players, I think they were, kind of surprised. And I kind of kid around. I said, I told you I was tough, and now all of a sudden they heard about it. So, it was, for something like that in that movie, it's, I can't say enough. I can't say enough about it. I think I couldn't believe it when we Ken Holland last year in Traverse City took us all into the State Theater at Traverse City, and we watched it, and it was unbelievable. And like I said, for me, sitting there and obviously we lived it, we knew the story, we knew what happened. I've heard Jimmy D tell stories.
Back? Like I went right back. I've seen it 9 or 10 times, right? But every time I see it, there's something different. But I got the same feel. Like I thought I was 25 years old again.
It just gives you chills.
Goosebumps, chills.
It's just everything about it. You're proud of what you accomplished. You're proud of the friendships that we've created. All of us, stay in. I'm lucky. I've been over to Russia and I've been in Russia and Sergei and Slava Fetisov have been there. I can pick up the phone and call Igor Larionov anytime I want. Things that I get to work with Steve Yzerman. You go down the list, obviously, the grind line, the relationships that we've had. It's just friendships that are going to last, forever. And, and then, the Stanley Cups that we were able to win. It's truly, it was just, we were blessed. We were fortunate, to be able to play, in Detroit, for myself to be able to play in there from, 93, 94 to 2011 with the players that I did to win the cups, one of my greatest, moments, when Mac comes back, for the 2008 Stanley Cup, something that, never ever forget, so all those things. It's, but I just remember, watching the movie, and to me, I'd probably say, it might have been 4 or 5 minutes, and I was sitting beside Maltz watching the movie, and when Johnny Wharton was, describing, my injuries in the hit and what he saw, it was unbelievable, the silence in the theater. And everyone in that theater knew about the injuries. They lived it with me and stuff. And I honestly think, I just froze up for, 4 or 5. Maltz actually asked me, he's like, are you all right? Like this, and kind of brought, and all of a sudden, Maltz has emotion. He cares,
Right.
So it was something that it was powerful.
Finally, you got something out of it. Other than spilling his beer and then to see him shed a tear. But that's the thing, Drapes, because the one thing that I said the first time I saw it, there's 2 things I got from it. Holy shit, it wasn't easy. And then 2, holy shit, no matter where you looked, left, right, no matter what language, color, religion, there's love between human beings that would do anything. And Sergei said, family.
Yeah.
And I didn't really realize
until like playing it back, but how pivotal that Russian dinner was.
Yeah, I know. It's unreal.
And
Yeah.
how, because Stevie
Yeah.
nailed it when it's like they let us into their, like, it was almost like we crossed this bear, like between that the trust was there and from that day, because there's two things to always remember is that Stevie's saying that after we won, you'll never be able to take this from, wherever we go in life, whatever happens, we'll live there. And then the rest of it is like, oh, it just blew me away.
Well, the hard part, and it wasn't fair because they were our teammates and they were our friends, that when we lost, those guys got blamed.
Oh.
And that was something that obviously, that's hard for all of us. We're in this together,
Right.
It wasn't, and I think they heard the outside noise. They heard the white noise of what was going on and, people saying you can't win with all these Russians and too many Europeans. Obviously, they're very intelligent people. And, all of a sudden, it like you talk about now, all of a sudden we kind of go, into their culture and have an unbelievable night with all these guys. And it's just like, that was one moment, obviously March 26th was another moment, but these things all happen like, as a team. And that was something, when you start talking about when you guys are going out for dinner, it wasn't cliquey. It wasn't, guys here, guys there. You go out for dinner, there'd be 10 guys. I remember I learned a heavy lesson. I was going out for dinner. We would go out for dinner and, with the guys, and some nice bottles of red were being ordered. And I was just drinking, some Bud Lights and some beers, and then all of a sudden the bill would come, and we would split it among, it would basically be 10 guys, whatever the bill is, you're paying your share, even though they were ordering off the reserve red wine list. So
That's
all of a
called-
sudden,
ringing the bell,
Yeah,
baby, ring that bell.
So-
That's what it's called.
so there was two things that were going on.
Your guy would be ordering, and you'd be guys going bong, bong, like you're hitting like.
Yeah, so so then I'm thinking two things are happening. I'm stopping. I'm not going out with these guys for dinner anymore. But it was way too much fun, or I got to start drinking red wine. So and then Igor, who is a big advocate, good for your heart and everything, and so I ended up starting to drink some red wine. But the funny part, you start going out to those games, and Mac was the king of the games afterwards. 2 games that are unbelievable. The credit card game and the numbers game. And Mac was the king at that. And you're sitting there.
Oh,
and,
so
and
explain to it. So there'd be 2 different ones. So say you're sitting around the table with 8 guys.
Mac would call it. Mac would call.
Right, either or the number game or the credit card. Credit card game's pretty simple.
Yeah.
They call it birds in a bush where everybody throws a credit card in and whoever's drawn out pays the ticket. The numbers game was a lot more fun because you start from 1 to 1,000 and I'd pick it, right? So we'll play right now. So I'm going to write the number down, and I'll let you know what you win or you lose. So I'd start with McCool, between 0 and 1,000.
655.
Okay, between 0 and 655, Perry.
33.
33 and 655.
500.
500 and 605.
655.
Or 655.
See, that's why he never fucking paid.
500 and 655.
560.
550. So if it's between 550 and 655, it's my turn. I get 551. It's between 551 and 655, McCool.
585.
It's between 585 and 655, Perry.
612.
It's between 585 and 612, Nils.
590.
It's between 590 and 612, Bill.
608.
So it's between 590 and 608. I get 607. Between 590 and 607, Mike.
599.
It's between 590 and 599, Perry.
Ooh.
596.
Between 590 and 596, Nails.
Oh, what is it, 590 and 596?
Yeah.
593.
Between 590 and 593, Bill, which means, so we're going to stop right here, right? So it can either be 591
Or
592. So right now, all these guys
We're
have
out.
a free meal,
We're out.
right? Now
Now just remember,
that's
there's bottles
badass.
of reserve red wine that are
This
going on.
is,
This
this
is a
is,
head.
I'm going to say this is like a $2,000, $2,500 ticket.
Right.
Now you have a choice between 591 and 592. If you, whatever number you pick, if it's not the number, then I would pay. If it is the number, then you would pay.
Yeah. So you don't want to pick the number right now. Okay.
591.
Thanks, Bill. Bill bought dinner. Yeah, and that's hey, that actually
Drive-line go.
That actually worked the way that it usually did, because it would always come down to usually me, and that's where you say it,
Yeah.
and more times than not, depending on who it was, but we usually slide out.
Yeah.
But so there you go, guys. That's the numbers game, and Bill,
is a lot
Bill
more
just
fun.
bought dinner. What?
It's a lot more fun.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
Well, it is
Yeah.
until you pay the bill, right?
Yeah, unless you're.
So you want to do that, right? So hey, listen. So you want to do that in like lunch, right? Where guys are, or you want to go to the movie, or maybe you hit Chipotle or something like that's going to cost you $40.
We weren't eating at Chipotle, Mac.
No, I mean before the movie. Yeah, exactly. Before that segment right there, the numbers game, feel free to play, was brought to you by the Jeffrey Group and Rhonda Monet of Gold Star Mortgage. Jeffrey Kavanaugh of the Jeffrey Group of America Realty and Rhonda Monet of Gold Star Mortgage have enjoyed a decades-long 5-star customer rating. What sets them apart year after year in this competitive home buying market? Their family of customers consistently report a simple, seamless, transparent, ethical process. Help me, Rhonda. Yes, the very, very Rhonda that Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys sang to her in Maui when she was serving breakfast. Yes, you deserve nothing less. Don't make a move or sell to sell or purchase a home without consulting with Jeffrey or Rhonda. Call Jeffrey Kavanaugh at 734-306-9027 today. Gold Star Mortgage is an equal opportunity lender, NMLS number 3446. And thank you to the Kavanaugh Group and I believe Brad over at Tanglewood. I heard through Nikolai that we are putting together, getting ready for next year's golf outing early. Like, no, we're starting to put the things.
Oh, yeah.
Starting to put things into
That's
consideration for
fantastic.
next year.
Yeah, we're going to be all set next
And
year.
thank you to Jeffrey and Rhonda for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you brought up, I want to talk about, because I got a great question, and I don't know what I did with it. Oh, here it is. About my comeback, and I talk about that, so I preface it with, because it really goes, to me, it goes to show you, like, everything we're talking about, culture, whatever, like that, at the end of the day, it's family. We're family. And it didn't matter, because I remember when I came back, and we had lunch, and I think it was in December of 2007, and I sat down, and you said to me, like, what is it you want? I said, dude, I got something left, and I just want a chance. Mm-hmm. And at the time, you and Sank, and you had something to do with the Flint Jet in the IHL.
With Brandon, yeah.
And Brandon Bordeaux, yeah. God bless B.
Yeah.
For, at the time, and that's what I tell you. So when we sat down, and it was just like, and then you were the one that went to Kenny, and it was like we had this like, and I was just looking for the opportunity, mm-hmm. and that's all it was. So it was like I tell everybody, for me at that point, to be able to come back and not be where I was at, but to be able to come home and that's sort of the family, no matter what was going to happen, and just to be able to have that opportunity. So. When we talk about all the different, like I always say that all the cups are, they're like kids, right? They all have the different story and different thing like that. But that one because of Ozzy coming back, because of me, because of Dally, Dally Drake, and just the way that it was done. It was
Aaron
like
Downey.
Oh, double O Downs. Yeah. But with Hank and with Pav and just Croner and just the guys, it was sort of like not the last hurrah, but it was the end of the thing. And it was like so important. And I think that you got to realize it's just, sometimes it's just the opportunity. So and the way that it played out, obviously, we're sitting here with, I was able to tag along again.
Well, what made you believe in him? What did you see in him that said, "Hey, I got to give him a chance"?
Well, first of all, one of my best friends. So I was going to do everything I could for him. Obviously, but for me, I mean, I'm in the middle of the season. Like I'm playing. It's not like I can't be there. Every day. And the one thing I said to him, and I believed him. I looked at him. I said, Mac, I got no problem setting this up. I know trainers and all this. People love to do it. I'll set it up. But if you miss a workout, I'm out. Like, I can't. You came to me. You sought me out. You wanted to do this. We just sat here for 2 hours, and you're telling me what you're going to do. You'll do everything to get it done. I believe you, but that's talk. Until you have to get up and do a workout, and then you have to skate. and then you're going to feel, you're not going to feel great, and you got to get up and you do it. I have to do it again. It's day in, day out, day in, day out. That's when you're going to, that's when you're going to prove it to me that you're going to do it. So ended up setting up, with a personal trainer, getting them going.
Big thank you to Sean Clark and obviously Dr. Pierce over there and everybody, which you had that core.
Yep. Got him in at Troy, and then it was starting to skate, and I kept talking to Ken, and just kind of, it's like, day 7, hasn't missed a workout, he's doing it, kept talking and all this stuff, and then I still. Not you, and obviously how you ended up. I knew you wanted to. You basically said, like, I got to play games, and you went to Flint to earn the contract to get to Grand Rapids.
Right.
Correct?
It was. Yeah. Well, that's what Kenny told me.
Yeah.
Kenny just said, and like I said, the opportunity. I said, where do I? It was the same sort of thing back when I was drafted, and I think the biggest thing is that I had to prove it with the opportunity. But you guys know that when I put my mind to something, that it could be done. But Kenny said, well, I needed a place to play, right? Because he would be willing to give me an opportunity, but I had to earn it. So to be able to go to Flint and Jason Cerrone, friend that we played junior against and known, he sort of like was able to help me and take me under the wing. And, I know Kevin Kerr was the coach and Mazzotti and just like to be able to get in and to love the game again and to enjoy the game and to play until Kenny said, okay, we'll give you a tryout in Grand Rapids. And the first game in Grand Rapids, I had a hat trick and an assist. And it was like, but the hardest thing back then, it was like knowing it, but it was like, it got to a point where Babs couldn't say no.
No, there's just too much going on.
Too much going on.
It just gained so much, positivity.
Right. And plus.
And obviously, every single Red Wing fan loves Darren McCarty. Everyone, it was a feel good. Everyone wanted this to work, and more importantly, Darren obviously put the work in to give himself a chance to do that. And then all of a sudden, it was like, okay, here he is. He went through. When you pay your dues, you went to Flint, you went to Grand Rapids, and now all of a sudden, obviously, it's he gets the call to come up to Detroit. And probably one of the coolest things that Babs did is. And it just kind of speaks.
I always say, and I always time I see Babs, I thank him for that because my first game back in St. Louis, he started the grind line. And to me, that's was sort of the tip of the hat, and you wondered, why it worked out. And for me, what I realized, I wanted to be a part of it. I didn't care if I played because I used to love going out, and Ozzy and I were talking about it, how I go out and be the warm-up guy with Shrimp Boat, Jimmy Bedard, and to be around it. But the way that it played out, with the Mule missing the first round and Homer missed the second, I played 17 out of the 22 games. Watch you put your face in front of a friggin' great goal.
Nice sauce pass by Dally Drake.
You know what? It doesn't matter. Exactly. Sauce it right into your giblets. I knew you were in trouble when you had your hand up and you skate right off the ice.
I had 4 chicklets straight back.
Hey, so winning all these 4 cups. Now, Max said you guys created something after the first cup because with the photo op didn't really wasn't the best photo op.
I said the 2 most poignant things Chris Draper told me has been we can never let this happen again. Exhibit A, standing in the crease. Looking down at New Jersey Devils celebrate winning the Stanley Cup. Chris Draper looked at me and said, we can never let this happen again. I said, I know. Also, too, after the first picture where we got bad real estate in the back where you see my forehead and him sort of looking, he looks at me after the picture.
And he doesn't belong in the back of any picture.
Thank you.
No, absolutely. What are you saying? I do?
Well, no, I'm saying.
Oh, he just went 5'10" and a half.
That's okay. That's okay.
5'10" and a half?
Not anymore. No.
Shorter?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
He's a man. He's a minute.
Yeah.
Oh, no, man. See, Perry? That's just like me telling my pizza ass thing. He just told on himself that now he's not afraid.
Yeah, I always played big. I'm not worried about my height, okay?
I love it. But he told me that. He said, the real estate for the picture, right, for your Stanley Cup picture, how you get on Sports Illustrated, we had absolute first one, winning goal. I couldn't hog the front, but he looks at me and goes, bro, we can never let that happen.
Yeah,
bad real estate.
But at the time, we were in a good spot.
We were,
and then all of a sudden,
we were
the young eager guys. Then everyone came in. That's when I said, all of a sudden, they see these guys come in. I was like, we got here too early, Mac. We got here too early. Can't let this happen again.
Right, and then,
sure enough.
So the next year when we won, we made sure, because the key is you got to
make
We
it look.
we were beside each other. We're like, not yet, not yet. You know,
Yeah.
letting
Oh.
guys come in, sort around. It's like, okay, let's go. And
Ready,
here we
ready, go. And then we went together. So by 02, we didn't have to stamp it. We had it down, sort of. And you see, and then here's the thing. And do you remember this? So Dan Cleary, the whole time, like we're talking to him. And the best, like Cleary is awesome. But he's like, oh, because we're telling him, dude, we win. You know, you got to do the pitch. And he's always asking us, and hey, what's the pitch? How do we do the pitch? How do we do it? Wait. And said, obviously, for 08, but after Dan Cleary muffed the biggest, like,
didn't know that we won. Didn't know the buzzer.
isn't that the biggest, dude? The biggest
The
non-selling.
hesitation
That
is
was.
priceless.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Dude, Ozzy said, I asked Ozzy when he was here, he says, what the? He was just like,
Well,
act
Ozzy
like
threw,
you've been there
Ozzy
before.
threw his
And he's
stuff right
looking
as
at
there. And
Clears
Bear's
to
got
Hey, so he couldn't
You
have.
talk about freezing.
So
Yeah.
you gotta come in late. So it's
Yeah.
always about the patience, and you know you can't be too in a hurry
Yep.
to get anywhere. And I don't know. I think the last three we
Really good spots.
really
Yeah.
good spots.
Yeah. Well, one of the pictures, I think it might be 02. I'm like, Mr. Illich is like right beside me by the cup.
Yeah.
You know, like how fortunate is that? You know, being with Mr. I.
I don't think it's
by the
fortunate when it
stand.
comes to you. I think
Well, that was pretty good.
Listen, come on. The 2000 and 2000 or the 1996 2016 repeat Ginger of the Year award winner, Chris Draper.
Yeah.
So one of the other things, you play much golf this year?
I did not.
You did not.
Not a
Because
lot
the
this
one
year.
thing that Chris has on me is that I have 2 hole-in-ones. You still have one?
I got one,
But you
yes.
had yours first.
Did I?
Yeah, you did. Because
Oh,
I
okay.
remember. Did I? Dude, because I used to be I'm the diehard golfer or whatever, and he goes home, and you got in Toronto, didn't
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
And you got in Toronto. He generally comes back with, hey, how'd you golf? And oh, yeah. But he's got this plaque and this picture, and then he brags on me, yeah, I didn't even see it go in. So that's one thing he does. But you belong to Magna.
I do.
Magna goes-
I got Magna and Oakland Hills here. Yeah. Yeah. So
Well, hey,
Yeah.
it'd be nice. It'd be nice. Do you see
they're
it
they're
open up?
redoing it right now.
I know.
I'll tell you what. When they redo it, we're done deal. We'll go
Okay.
play new.
I like the
course.
North,
Yeah, North is unreal.
It is
Yeah,
unreal.
Yeah.
I just say that because here at Grind Time, that was the golf. Because Cattails, everybody, thank you for who came out to the Cattails golf outing. If we know Cattails, it's the golf club 18-hole championship track in South Line, former home to the LPGA Futures Tour, Michigan Amateur Qualifier, and more. 2 very unique nines, 1 unique golfing experience. Wetlands featured on the front, hardwoods and native forests on the back. Perry's balls are everywhere out there. You can return them for an autograph from Perry Vellucci here at Grind Time. Range, multiple practice series, and full bar. Menu at the clubhouse. Come on out to the course that the Grind Time family plays. Oh, that was easy. Check
gonna
out
say,
our
get through it,
Facebook
yeah.
page for an exclusive offer to Grind Time fans that will get you 18 holes in a cart for $25 during the week. Wow, I thought this was 1996 again. Cup Crazy. Little Cup Crazy came out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so you're on your way to Sweden.
On my way to Sweden Friday. Yep.
So,
Yep.
so will you? How much out of the month do you travel?
Well, I mean, man, I'll probably see try to do 22 games a month, 22 to 23, depending on where,
Now,
It's,
do you have a short list do you start with a short list of, like you said, you mentioned the Quebec kid who's number 1. So you have a short list of guys. Do you?
Yeah, I try to. By the time October's finished, I should probably have potentially the top 15 guys in the draft, seeing those guys. And then once you get into November, there's a U18 and there's a U20. One's in Sweden, one's in Finland. So I'll hit both of those. So you pretty well see all the top guys there. World Juniors.
Where's that at this year?
Sundsvall in Sweden is the 18s, and then in Helsinki is the U20s. So I'll do that, and then obviously the U18 World Championships are in Plymouth this year. So that's,
wow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
huge.
Okay.
April.
Oh, wow.
Middle of April. So that's
Yeah.
unreal. Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
that's
geez.
it's. I mean, obviously very fortunate. For travel wise to see that, but just for hockey fans in general to go see this tournament. I mean, these will be the kids that all the O2s, top O2s. There'll probably even be some underage O3s that are there, and these will be a lot of the top
The names they're
that-
going to hear.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. Yep. So I have that, and then just kind of go. It's just kind of put a schedule in. I usually try to go, almost 2 months out of where I'm going to go, and then you just try to, you try to make it flow. Work with, talk to our area guys. See what they have going on where they're at, and then just get in and watch the game. So it's and then obviously sometimes it's. The kids get injured, so, you have to, you might have to change your schedule on that. But, for the most part, pretty well 2 months out. And, the big thing is obviously communication, constant communication. And then from there, it's, just go find the players. We'll do, it's actually pretty cool. So every time I go see a player, I rank a player.
Right.
And we put it into, it's called List Builder. So if I have anyone that's in, a top 15 pick, they dump it into the top 15.
So
and then
that pretty much helps you remember, almost like when you watch a game or when we watch a game.
Yep.
And like maybe he does something and you're like, wow, I haven't seen that, or he does that. You may mark it down and forgot because you go back in your lists and your notes.
Yeah. So I just kind of keep. Usually I try to do it about once a week to try to keep my, it's my list of where I want these players, and it goes, position. Centers, left, right. Here you go. Try to get those all set up. So it's pretty interesting. To get it, to get it all dialed in, and it's I can see, myself, Jesse Wallen, Ryan Rozmirski, Stevie Beaker. We can see our other scouts list to kind of see where they have those players. And stuff, so to kind of keep track of where it's going. But, for me, I'd rather talk to them. I'd rather pick the phone up and have a conversation. Who do you like? Who was good this weekend? Just in Pittsburgh this past weekend, they had the USHL showcase. So all the USHL teams were there, so, been talking to, our guys over that. And, so those are, it's, you just kind of get where they're at. And it's pretty good, for, it's interesting. It's good communication. You spend a lot of time, in your vehicle. I guess speaking of my vehicle, I got to throw Zod in for. I got an unbelievable Dodge Ram. Have you seen the new Dodge?
No
pickups. Outstanding.
Really?
So I got.
I saw the spot.
I got. Do you see it?
I saw the spot.
Yeah. So I got.
I graduated.
Oh, I did.
Okay.
You enjoy.
Yeah. So
Thad's been watching us.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Has he? Okay.
Right.
Good. So.
Awesome.
And the good thing is I hope he's listening right now, because I put thousands and thousands of miles on a vehicle, so it works out pretty good. But you just get in the car, and if you drive to London, I have 2 hours, so I want to jump in the car and I want to drive home, and I'm going to talk to somebody. What'd you see? Try to and let them know what I saw.
Would that be like, because that's sort of working smarter, not harder? It's just, is that one of the things that was going to ask you is, what do you think is the number one thing that you took from Kenny or learned from Kenny?
Yeah, well, the one thing, is basically if you're going to get into this, you have to go watch hockey games. That's really what it is. I mean, we're lucky. We have the video system that we have, games being played tonight within 24 hours. I could pull up any game, any shift of any player that I want, but it's not the same, as going there live, and that's
same thing as if you're going to turn a new hockey fan and you watch them watch TV, and then you take them to a live game and they're like, wow,
exactly,
it's the same thing.
Exactly.
As in scouting, you can get an idea.
Well,
but
there's things you want to see. There's mannerisms you want to see. There's, how are they on the bench? How do they react to certain things? I always sit across from the benches because I want to watch them.
Yeah.
I want to watch them kind of come on and off the ice and see how
great
they are.
perspective.
If all of a sudden, if you don't get the puck and all this stuff, like, when Mac didn't see me and I'm wide open, and
you went offside,
and then
you went offside.
I would go offside.
As anybody else in the history, I
was
wish
going too fast.
Have you anybody? Hey, what was your answer? Hey, when I go this fast, I can't risk blowing a groin.
Exactly. Yeah. Hey, man, the puck.
Do you think? Hey,
that's one of the oldest rules in hockey.
You are the most offside
Move it.
guy in history.
Guys ahead of you, open, move it.
Hey,
well,
most offside guy in history.
No, not true.
Listen, you might have been offside more than Homer had goals disallowed.
You're lying. That's lie. There's no chance. There's no chance.
You are a chronic. Hey, I'm going to ask some of the other guys. You're a chronic.
You think so?
Chronic offsider.
Wow, I've never been called that before. You know what? I totally
It was
disagree.
a lot, but I don't know about chronic.
So you're not saying chronic period, just a plethora?
If there was
A plethora of
Listen,
offside.
well, this is-
like if
I'm
I
going to
said
agree with
Detroit
them to
Red
quit coming up with these
Detroit
words.
Red Wings 1993 or 94 till 2011 most offside guy.
no.
Yeah.
No.
During that time span.
How
during
many
that
games,
time
how many
span,
games
yeah.
did you play?
There,
1,000?
there was, I think, almost
Over 1,000.
almost
No, I know.
1,200. Yeah, Listen,
1,200?
Here's the
1,200
thing.
games, guaranteed 1,000 offsides.
That-
1,000 guaranteed, easy.
There's no-
Won a game?
You know.
Won a game? Yeah. Won a
maybe,
game? I could.
yeah.
Dude, but then, hey,
I had to send a message. Like, you know what? If he wouldn't pass the puck and headman the puck, finally came to the point, you know what? I got to send him a message. So instead of dragging the leg or cutting across the blue line, I just went offside. I'd look down, I'd come back to the bench. I'd be serious. I'd be, move the fucking puck, okay?
hey,
You're
I'd
not
be fighting
fast.
off 4 guys trying to.
No, he was a couple times. He'd be a zone behind me. Okay, like I was a lot
I
faster. than
believe
he
that,
Was.
yes.
Mac, I knew Mac was fast enough to always get me out of trouble.
That's
okay?
it.
Like, that's the one thing. That's the only thing I needed him to do. Okay, I just need to make sure
Oh,
that he was.
love that statement.
Okay, I
That's all
needed
that
him to be
matters.
fast
That's-
enough to make sure that he could bail me out. So that
What
was.
Drapes is saying is he could tread water for a few
He, right, he would slow. He
Yeah, I
could.
had my warrior stick in my hand. No problems. Yeah.
That's awesome, bro.
man.
I really appreciate
Well, I
it.
got to end. So it's funny. Obviously, I talked to Ozzy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know you guys had a lot of fun, and he said there was one story that he wished that he brought up, and he goes Drapes, he goes, you got to end it with this.
Okay.
So
So this
do you-
is an Aussie Drape
this
special
is-
with this ought to be great.
Yeah. And do you remember when after we won the cup in '97, we went to Tiger Stadium?
Oh, yeah, when we got the unis on?
Yeah. Do you remember that?
Wait,
Oh,
put the
yeah,
unis
you
on?
were-
Okay, hold
You
on,
were
hold
awesome.
on. Hold on a second.
You want me to tell the
No,
story?
no. You can chime in a little bit, but you're going to listen. So anyway, so we come, Bobby Higginson, Brian Hunter, Phil Nevin, Jonesy, all these guys, we were actually, kind of befriended them all through the Stanley Cup run. They came to the games. Higgy was unreal because he's from Philly. So he was a Philly,
Right.
huge Flyers fan, and obviously we were able to, stick it to him, which was fantastic. But anyway, so after we,
gotta
so
tell him we got the unis on.
See, oh yeah, so we come into Tiger Stadium, we come into the dugout, and they're hanging up. We have our unis are hanging up. Okay, so we come in, and we're huge. Sports fans of all,
he's
Pistons,
He's a
Lions,
Jays
Tigers,
fan.
okay,
freaking
and all.
George Bell.
Jays,
Yeah, Jeff
Anyways,
Garfield,
so we
Garth
get
Forge.
Pat
get-
Atkin.
we get everything all
machine,
set up and we go out there, okay? So we get all done up. So we're taking, watching these guys are warming up. And it was the Chicago Cubs, there's interleague play. And so anyway, so we're going and the Tigers are all warming up and Ozzy actually goes out into the bullpen with Jonesy. And Jonesy's, throwing some stuff. And it was unreal. I don't know who it was, but told me he's never seen it before. Ozzy's sitting there, he's in the crouch, and he's making, he's catching the ball, and Jonesy kind of gets one that comes away from him. So Ozzy's there, and he's in his crouch. So instead of just trying to use his body what everyone would, Ozzy just goes into the butterfly. He sticks out his left leg and basically off shin pad into his glove and catches it and throws it back to Jonesy. And all the other catchers they have never ever seen anything like this. It was unreal.
Redirecting it,
Exactly, because they
controlling
obviously they use their body. So anyway, so we're taking batting practice. Okay, so we're kind of going back and forth. So obviously, the short porch in right field, right?
Yep.
So all of a sudden, so we're sitting there and we're hitting them, and they're warning track power, no, and all of a sudden I hit one.
You didn't hit one. You pro. Like Higgy was standing
They
there, and
could've
Higgy's a
hammered
left-handed
it.
batter.
Crashed.
And he hits this ball, and Higgy lets out this, oh! Drapes hit this, I swear, Bill, it was probably about within
Upper
within
deck.
30
Upper
feet.
deck.
Within
Yeah.
30 feet of where Gibby hit his against Goose Gossage.
Yeah,
Wow.
upper
Hey.
deck like this. So this is the best. But I heard it, and it's true. There was a different crack of the bat. You almost felt it and everything. And then I heard them say, Higgy just goes,
And the
then-
Tigers guys were going, oh!
So the Cubs, they're all up on the step because they're actually waiting, right? So anyway, so I flip the bat and I start running the bases, and everyone's kind of like,
He's got the uni on. We got
I
the
this
Tigers
Draper
unis, and
33,
they
and I'm
see this
running
guy
around.
running the bases.
Yeah, and I am flying. Eh? I see Sammy Sosa. I'm like, Sammy! You know, as I'm wheeling
He's
it
throwing
around.
in right field. James is around in second. Go, Sammy!
So I run back. So as soon as I come back, now Matt gets up to bat. Now, don't forget, we've kind of been going back and forth, and Darren and I are pretty competitive of all this stuff that's going on. So Mac's hitting it. Boom, warning track. Boom, warning track. Now, all of a sudden, the big tough guy, is trying to sit there. Now, 5'10" and a half over here,
You
hit
shorter
one
than
out.
that now.
Doesn't matter. Hit one out. And that day, Mac couldn't hit one out. Finally, the Cubs come on the field. They're like, guys, we got to get ready for our game, and all this. And Mac's sitting there, he's dripping sweat. He was like a little kid that had to take his net and go home.
I was mad.
And he was
Because,
so mad.
dude,
He wouldn't even talk. Like, he
don't
was just
you
being a
remember?
big
Because
suck.
their backup catcher robbed me at the track, morning track, and he went out,
go
and,
over the fence?
and he went over and got it. And I was like,
So to this day,
Oh.
Draper 1, McCarty
Oh.
0, Tiger Stadium,
But it
upper
wasn't
deck.
even-
And it was just,
man.
it wasn't. It was like one of those no doubters that you see like in the home run derby.
Yeah.
It was just.
I mean, did you play baseball
I
growing
did
up?
growing up.
Okay,
Yeah.
You
so,
have-
so you had
and-
to swing and all. Yeah, you're
So
a
we did-
natural athlete.
So we
Yeah.
did all that. That was such a fun day. We were able to, shag fly balls, everything, the unis. I still have my uniform. It's unreal. It's at my parents' house. Amazing. And it was, so anyways, we were laughing at that because of obviously, how competitive we both were. And Ozzy was just like, and then of course, Ozzy's like, a couple hours later, Mac, did you hit one out? Did you hit one out? Yeah. And I'd be there. No, I did though, Oz. Yeah. So.
Just it. Well, that was good, and that was like we always. That was always the best part. Even doing, going to Comerica and being
Yeah.
around, and that's the one thing too is that. Moving forward is the culture, but it's how we were interacted with all the other sports
Yep.
teams, and that's to see what we're going to get back into. I know I talked to Matt Patricia, and that's one culture thing coming with New England, coming from the Boston area.
Yeah.
All those
Oh, I know,
championships,
yeah.
they're all intertwined. They all
Yeah.
talk. They're all friends.
Yeah.
And if we build that culture, like you said, and it starts.
Last Sunday showed me that it's, and what they've done so far this year, that it's
Lions?
already there. Yeah, they're starting.
Yeah.
it. It's
Speaking of
building.
that, did you watch the game last? I was there.
I was in Rimouski.
Oh, that's
I was
right.
working,
You were
remember?
working.
Yeah.
I was up.
Yeah.
I got to say thanks to TJ Lang, and I got to meet Frank Zombo. Thank you. Watched the game with them. TJ last week joined us at the Legacy 9-5. What a great guy.
9-2.
he is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and learning a lot of intricacies behind,
Well,
the
I
football.
train a lot with Rob Sims.
yeah,
former,
Rob-
O-lineman,
Rob-
right?
yeah.
What a
Great
great
guy.
guy he is. Very cool. What a great guy.
Yeah, we're doing a lot of stuff. I'm doing stuff with him and Calvin, and
Yep.
just talking with
Yep.
stuff with their primitive and the health. And one of the things is that is we got to take care of our they have to take care of our players. So it's a different way in all the different leagues, just for health and wellness.
Yeah.
So, but great guys.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
he's such a good dude. And then I meet him through Dom. So
Yeah.
all the time. So
Yeah.
what's so,
Peterman, old Petey. Yeah, all those guys.
all those
yeah,
linemen,
those
dude, are
linemen,
just,
yeah.
God, thank God they couldn't skate.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's some huge guys. Obviously, TJ and stuff.
Yeah.
TJ Lomas, all those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
What do you got this weekend?
Yeah, what do we got going?
I got Caregivers Cup Saturday up in Flint area. No comedy till next weekend. I'll be up at Saginaw the 12th. So we'll have everything up on DarrenMcCarty.com. You're heading to Sweden.
Yep, off to Sweden.
You're leaving Friday?
I leave Friday, and then I land. I get into Gothenburg, and then games Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, Tuesday, and then Tuesday right through. I finish end up in Germany on Sunday, and then fly home. Yeah.
We'll tell the Hawk I said hi. Hawk,
I will,
So
for sure.
you're going to
See
miss Sunday.
Yeah, I
home
miss home
opener.
opener. Yeah.
I'll be
yeah.
there. I'll represent.
What do you got? What are you going to be doing there?
Oh yeah, I'll be at the home opener. I don't know, walk the red carpet.
Oh, yeah?
I think I might be doing the in-game.
In-game again?
Oh, good.
In-game
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta check. So yeah, and that's the, like you said, everybody finding their spot to how they do how we can positively affect from what we know, and it's great to see everybody. It's great to hear like Croner and
Yeah,
working with
yeah.
Cider, and that because that's where we came from. All we're trying to do is learn or is to teach what we were taught.
Yep.
The difference is that we had to learn like of the Gordys and the Tads and stuff. We didn't really. Our parents grew up watching them. We got to learn about the men
Yeah.
themselves from being around. Now it's
Yeah,
like
but how special was that seeing Gordy and Ted at Joe Louis Arena? I remember the first time seeing each of them, obviously at different occasions, and I couldn't wait to call my dad. Just obviously and just say like, Dad, I met Gordie Howe. Dad, I met Ted.
Dad, Ted Lindsay
Like,
just gave me shit.
Alex
Yeah.
Trebek.
Yeah, you deserved it.
I mean,
Alex,
all-
yeah, it's
all those
Johnny
guys.
Amazing.
Wilson back in the
Bill,
day.
Bill Gadsby.
Bill Gadsby.
Yeah. So so special.
Yeah. So if you were in charge of if you had Stevie's role and you were signing a job to the team for Mac, what would you give him? What role would he be?
Gritty, the mascot from Philly. Yeah.
Hey, look how he's brought. I already got it. I already got the mascot.
I was gonna
That's
say.
it.
Yeah.
That's a dumb question, Perry, because you got to spend too much time at the rink to be involved. And you can be involved on the outside, and you can do grind time with Darren McCarty, and you can have great interviews with your friends and
Yeah.
former teammates, like Chris Draper himself.
And he gets, when it's on, when he goes in house, you do a great job.
Thanks.
It's a good feel.
I love the,
and obviously, the players, and it's important.
But it's a different. My perspective is always, where everybody. It's like I say, enjoy my truth, or it's been able. Like don't sugarcoat anything, but it's also too. Is I like being where I'm at because I don't need to know everything because then then I have a different perspective so that if you have asked me questions or what do I think or what do you think of that, then I tell you without any, because you just need to know how what I see from my point of view, and it's perfect. And I love what everything's going on and how it's building.
Yeah.
And it's the foundation.
Speaking of buildings, how nice is Little Caesars Arena? Like
Can you?
It's unbelievable.
I mean, do you have an office?
I do.
You do.
I do.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank
You got your name on your door?
I don't.
Okay. Well, that'll be next. What you got off?
No, it's a nice glass. I can see Co-America Park and Ford Field. Amazing. Really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
you know what? You might have deserved.
You might get
Yeah.
invited up
You
there
might
one day.
deserve. You know what? I walk by and
Our offices are at the opposite end of where the dressing room is.
I know it is.
Like it's. It's an unreal setup when you get up there. Really,
But getting
really
up
cool.
there is,
Yeah. We got a real cool conference room. Big table, big Red Wing logo. And then obviously we have the windows that overlook Woodward and great view of Lions and Tigers. So cool. It's,
and everything going on downtown. Like this with everything how
Yeah.
it's come about.
Yeah.
Isn't it
I
unbelievable?
know it's unreal. Yeah.
LCA's had concerts the last 3 nights, and they got another one tomorrow night.
Yeah.
and then
My daughter was at Post Malone.
Well, see,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I was down there. My daughter,
Were ya?
my
Yeah.
daughter wanted to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about your son Keenan real quick? What's going on with him?
Yeah, Keenan, who obviously grew up playing Little Caesars, his senior year, he's gone to St. Andrews College. He did 3 years at Brother Rice. He's going to St. Andrews College for senior year of high school, and he's committed to Miami of Ohio. So he's probably 2 years out playing there for one of our former. Chris Bergeron was a Detroit Red Wing, so he's the head coach there now. Came over from Bowling Green. Red Hawk alumni, and he's getting into his first year coaching Miami after coming over from Bowling Green. So, obviously very, very proud. I was able to, a great group of O2s. You've obviously, reffed our games and watched us play. We ended up, I think there's 11 Division I scholarships from the O2 groups that we were able to coach. Myself, Craig Rail, and Paul Moretz, and it's that's real proud of that. These kids, man, they when you start talking about the passion and the love of the game, I was able to share that with them, and it's fun to watch these kids. A lot of these kids are going to be up for the draft this year, so I got to watch one of them former player just sent me a text and just asked, I'd really like to get, this type of video. Can you send it to me? It's pretty neat to have that relationship with these kids still. And, it's a good young group, but, that's something that certainly proud of. And, as the last 2 years when Little Caesars Arena opened, that's the home of Little Caesars, the Belfort Training Center. I mean, you talk about, what an unbelievable place to play your minor hockey. Walking in, like it's amazing. Shooting room. There's 4 dressing rooms, so 4 teams have their equipment there. Basically Monday through Friday. They have their own video room. There's their tutor room. I mean, you can't imagine the
My
stuff
nephew's
that these
loving
kids,
it.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's unreal. And Mac mentioned it before about the commitment of the Illich family, and obviously the commitment to AAA and Little Caesars. Hockey is it's amazing. So I was fortunate. I had a blast. I was able to coach these kids. I started when they were 9 years old, and I watched them turn into great young men, and I'm real proud of that group.
You did a great job,
No,
and,
you did,
and the passion carries over to the bench too. I can.
Well,
We had some,
that's the thing.
yeah.
The Drapes doesn't. We're all the same. It's the same sort of thing. Is that it's that injustice or when it's wrong, and yeah, he can light somebody up pretty good.
Yeah.
We learn from the best, though.
Yeah, that was probably the only. I mean, yeah, I probably crossed the line sometimes, on.
Yeah, but here's the thing in the hockey.
But I can honestly
here's the
say
thing in the
I never
hockey
got
world.
thrown out of a. Actually, this is funny. The guy tossed me out once, and I talked him out of it. He didn't even throw me out of the game. I was just like, I asked if we could have a conversation. We had a conversation, and then I was like, all right, let's get this game going. And he actually got the game going, and I never had to leave the bench. So never got tossed,
so
eh?
you, dude. That is so
Hey,
you.
that was one of my proudest coaching moments.
Unbelievable.
I think the ref was Perry
And that's-
Bellucci.
he berates me the last 5 minutes of a game, and then as soon as the game's done, he shakes my hand. Bellucci, you want a beer? Come on.
Well, that's
Well,
yeah.
hey,
The buzzer went.
hey,
No, I
listen,
appreciate
I
it. No,
seen
it was
you
great.
ref.
appreciate it.
I seen you ref. I'd be losing on you the whole time anyway.
Oh, I know, and I didn't ignore you.
Don't call a penalty.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, good, Drapes. That's pretty much. That's a good way to end with the director of amateur scouting on his way to Sweden. Thanks for
Thank you.
popping in. I'm gonna definitely next time. We're gonna have to get a round table going when Ticker's in town.
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, for
or,
sure.
Or Ozzy or Maltz or
Yeah.
Wolf Joey.
I was
we'll
going to
figure
say,
it out.
if we can get you in again during the season here?
Yes. Yeah. No, this is great. I mean, obviously,
I gotta get
fantastic.
you gotta sign your.
Fantastic studio.
Sound
It's,
your banner.
it's,
Yeah.
I enjoy it, and like I said, obviously listen, on Instagram, got a lot of your stuff going on, so it's great. You're doing a great job.
Trying.
Glad to be a part of it, and it's fun. It's any time you get to come in and walk down memory lane is something that is obviously very special for all of us, and it's great to talk about these stories. And I know you have the passion for the Detroit Red Wings to get back to how they were when we played, and certainly I do too. And that's something I think that means a lot to the city, and we'll continue to do it and continue to rep the brand, and we'll get it back to where we want it to be.
All right. That sounds good. Couple things I want to let you know that, and I want to say thanks before I forget. Dora Rodriguez, our UAW rep, I went out and represented the grind line to say thank you. I went to Romulus, Belleville, and Ypsilanti yesterday on the strike lines,
Okay.
and told them that hey, the grind line is because of you people. You were there for us support. We want to let you know that we've been through it, but we're here for you. So
very
thank
cool.
you, Dora. I think that the great thing is that we're going to have, and I don't know if it's next week or not, but I'm going to have a couple of trying to see if I can get Dora in to explain their story and what the what the Grind Time family is all about, because you can't choose your blood, but you can choose your family, and it really goes to show you the people, and I think it's important as to why people do what they do, and it's a great way to for all of us to relay, as I want everybody to realize how we're more similar than we are different. So we've known that a long time. We got a lot of things to share. I appreciate you as always, and now you got
little bit more responsibility to bring some of these young guys home. So
Yeah, you know what? I'm
but you're
excited
having fun,
about it.
and
yeah.
then that's the whole thing is that
Yeah.
you're passionate about it. Everybody you said. If everybody listens to this podcast, Grind Time with Darren McCarty with Brian Line centerman Chris, 4-time Stanley Cup champion Chris Draper. Everybody he's mentioned in the spots that they are have the reps and have the passion. You know, Stevie, Beaker, Clears, Hork, you, Hawk, Fish, Maltz,
Croner.
Howie, Croner.
Yeah.
This culture's in the right way. Get on for a ride, and till we speak again, thank you, brother.
Absolutely.
Love
Appreciate
you.
it.
All right,
Thank you,
for
bud.
Mikey McCool, Perry Vellucci, thank you, Bill Roos. This is D-Mac. And remember here on Grind Time with Darren McCarty, no matter how many times you fall down, get your ass back up. Grind Time, we're out.